So I'm staring at my ceiling like it owes me cash. Which, plot twist, it didn't, but my toxic ex-girlfriend absolutely did. Honestly, she owed me my entire damn life. The name's Lakanga. I just woke up in my absolutely garbage rental apartment, and the calendar says it's May 1st, 2028. Which is completely insane because the last thing I remember, I was literally being shoved into a ravenous zombie horde by my ex's literal trash brother, while she just stood there, cuddling up to some new dude. Yeah, talk about a brutal breakup, right? Normal people get a text, but I got eaten alive. But somehow I just time-traveled 15 days before. This massive cosmic rock, dubbed the Death Star. Yeah, original name, I know. Obliterates the planet. And turns humanity into an all-you-can-eat zombie buffet. Let me fast-forward you through my past life, aka the most embarrassing simp origin story ever recorded. I used to have fire powers, insanely cool ones too. I was an A-rank hunter, clashing with undead monsters, dodging death like 47 different times, and grinding for rare power crystals like they were shiny Pokemon cards. And what did I do with that god-tier loot? Handed it straight to my girlfriend's brother. All because she'd hit me with that fake innocent. Babe, you really love me, right? And like an idiot, I'd give away items that could have made me a literal god. Her brother, Lu Chong, chugged my legendary SS rank power fruit, instantly becoming one of the top 3 apex predators in the entire Survivor Sanctuary. Meanwhile, I was hard stuck at level 7 for eternity, literally playing like a free-to-play scrub, who already burned through every single promo code. Then, out of nowhere, she baits me outside the safe zone for something urgent. Wanna guess what was so urgent? My own execution. Her brother and his squad of goons yeeted me straight into a massive zombie swarm, laughing, "Appreciate the carries, simp. Your final mission is to be our meat shield." I looked back, and there she stood, my gorgeous, utterly sociopathic ex, flashing that trademark sweet smile, while snuggling up against another guy's chest. If I had to leave a Yelp review for that relationship, 0 stars. Absolutely would not recommend. But the regression arc starts now, baby. And guess what? My fire powers actually hitched a ride to the past. Sure, I'm back to level 1, basically a human Zippo lighter, but this time it's mine, and nobody is taking it from me. But wait, here's where it gets absolutely wild. Tonight is D-Day. Earth is about to spawn these mystical fruits everywhere, as a last-ditch global defense mechanism. They look just like everyday apples, walnuts or whatever, but take one bite of the right one, and boom, instant superpowers. They only last for 7 hours before vanishing into thin air, and I happen to know that tonight, my snake of an ex is going to stumble right into an SSS rank. Spatial type power apple. The ultimate holy grail, the literal cheat code of cheat codes. Yeah, not this time, sweetheart. That apple is officially claimed. I've got exactly 2 hours and 13 minutes left. The clock is ticking. And then my phone buzzes. Speak of the devil, it's her. Babe, are you asleep? I'm at the bar with my roommates, and some total creep won't stop harassing us. Can you please come save us? Oh please. I know this exact playbook from my past life. Back then, I rushed over like some white knight, got totally wasted, and somehow got framed for an assault I didn't commit. Her real play? Blackmail me into dumping my entire life savings into her brother's shiny new sports car. The entire thing was a setup, orchestrated by her and her toxic duo of besties. First, Lin Shuai, the mastermind, basically a Regina George with a calculator. Then, Zhou Ting, the professional gossip spreader. Looks like an angel, leaks like a faucet. In my last life, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, begging them for mercy. But in this life, I text her back, "On my way, babe." But first, I made a quick call to a local loan shark. Borrowed 200,000 yuan on the spot. Last time, I took out that loan, just to hand it over to her deadbeat brother. But this time, that cash is all mine. It's time for some apocalypse prep, the ultimate shopping spree. 30 minutes later, I strolled into that bar with a duffel bag stuffed with cash, and a heart ready for cold, hard revenge. And there she was, Lu Ruyan, looking absolutely breathtaking in her little black dress. Legs that went on forever, the face of a literal angel, and a soul as trashy as a parking ticket. She spotted me, and her eyes instantly lit up. Not because she actually missed me, but because she smelled the cold, hard cash. "You're finally here. Sit down." She immediately snatched my arm, acting all lovey-dovey before introducing her squad. On the left was Lin Shuai, fox eyes, already scheming. On the right was Zhou Ting, round face looking completely harmless. But trust me, she's a viper. Last time, this toxic trio turned me into a drooling mess. Passed out on the barroom floor. Except this time, that drooling mess has a plan. Alright, so picture the scene. I stroll into that bar packing 50K in cash. Stuffed in a plastic bag, sporting a smile so dumb. It honestly deserved an Oscar. Hey everyone. First time meeting you guys. Didn't know what to bring. So here's a little token of appreciation. I slammed that bag on the table like it was cheap takeout. Lin Shuai ripped it open, staring at 50,000 yuan stacked neat as a brick wall. Instantly, I went from Li Chang'e to Gij, which is basically Big Brother in a total thought voice. For those keeping score. Zhou Ting hopped straight on the hype train too. Oh my god, Ruoyan. Your boyfriend is literally so generous. Meanwhile, Lu Ruoyan looked at me with those soft, melting eyes. The exact same eyes that watched me get fed to zombies. By the way, and I could read her mind clear as day. She wasn't thinking, I love him. She was thinking, the sucker bit the hook again. My fists were white-knuckled under the table, but upstairs?
Pure, un'adulterated idiot smile.
Professional-grade acting. Suddenly, my fire ability flared deep inside me, and I detected a massive energy pulse radiating from her. The spatial fruit, the SSS rank God Tier 1. She'd already consumed it. My brain went into hyperdrive. See, I know exactly how these fruits operate. High-level ones take at least 24 hours to fully fuse with the host. Before that window closes, the connection is fragile. Fragile enough to break. You can actually snatch the fruit's power away. If you, well, how do I put this delicately? Get extremely, intensely intimate with them. Yeah. That kind of close. Now listen. I'm not exactly proud of this move, but the girl literally murdered me in my past life. So yeah, my guilt meter was sitting at absolute zero. First things first, though, I had to survive this drinking trap. Cheers, everyone. Ryan always brags about how amazing her friends are. I threw back that first shot like an absolute champ. Then another. And another. But what these three scheming little angels didn't realize was that every single drop of alcohol hitting my throat was getting instantly incinerated by my inner firepower. It vaporized completely before it even touched my stomach. Bro, I was literally just drinking steam. Talk about the ultimate designated driver cheat code. Meanwhile, I was playing for D-chess. I casually pulled out my phone, added Lin Shuai and Zhou Ting on WeChat, and then ding shot them both a secret cash transfer. A clean 10,000 yuan each. Just a little icebreaker gift. Hey, nice to meet you guys. Don't tell Ryan though. She gets totally shy about this stuff. Lin Shuai's eyes practically popped out of her skull. Suddenly, I wasn't just some random guy anymore. I was officially her favorite person on the planet. Zhou Ting checked her phone too, and the way she looked at me instantly flipped from target locked for destruction to okay, maybe we let this one live. 20,000 yuan to completely flip my enemies? Best ROI of my entire life. Right on cue, Ryan made her move. She started whining about her precious little brother. How he desperately needed a 20 grand car. Because he's dating some fancy architect girl now. And status matters. And blah, blah freaking blah. In my past life, I hesitated right here. And that hesitation was exactly when she decided to ruin me. This time, I just smiled and played along. Sure thing. I'll definitely hook Lu Chong up. Smooth. Totally agreeable, giving her absolutely zero leverage to attack. She blinked in shock. She definitely didn't see that coming. Hours flew by, and the empty bottles started stacking up. I kept drinking like an absolute fish. Well, a fireproof fish anyway. All while keeping the girls' glasses completely full. By 1 a.m., Lin Shuai and Zhou Ting were basically part of the furniture. Face down, drooling, completely knocked out. Ryan was barely holding on for dear life, wobbling violently in the booth, desperately trying to remember what her actual plan was. All right. Step 1. Get him drunk. She staged a fake assault just to blackmail me. One tiny problem. I was stone cold sober after 15 drinks, while she could barely see straight. Chang'e. How are you not completely wasted? High tolerance. I replied, flashing her my best golden retriever smile. I helped her up and started guiding her to the exit, and that's when fate handed me an absolute bonus. As we passed Lin Shuai slumped on the floor, Ryan's heavy, half-closed eyes caught the bright glow of Lin Shuai's phone screen. Transfer, 10,000 yuan from Li Chang'e. I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. Right through that thick fog of alcohol. Why is he sending my friend money? They just met. What is going on? Is he? But the booze was hitting way too hard, forcing her eyelids shut. Before she could even process it. Once we hit the cool night air, she stirred just enough to mumble, "Chang'e, did you seriously send Lin Shuai cash?" "Yep," I replied casually. "Just making sure she takes good care of you." She went completely silent. I could feel her struggling to think, desperately trying to spot the trap. But her brain was running on ancient dial-up. And the alcohol had completely unplugged the router. So there she was, leaning heavily on my shoulder. The exact woman who had utterly ruined my life, carrying an SSS-ranked superpower fruit, sitting half-absorbed inside her body, like an undigested cheat code. And here I was, sober as a judge, fire in my eyes, revenge on my mind, and a highly specific agenda for the rest of the night. The clock was ticking. Now, here's where things get incredibly spicy, and by spicy, I mean sweet, sweet revenge. That 10 grand I casually slipped to Lin Shuai, it was never a bribe to buy her loyalty. It was a psychological time bomb, left right where Ryan would see it. And like clockwork on our way out, her drunken eyes caught Lin Shuai's phone screen, glowing with the evidence. The seed was planted. Her own absolute bestie, accepting secret payouts from her boyfriend. That paranoia is going to eat away at her for weeks. I just turned her trusted attack dog into a massive trust issue. Anyway, I finally got her back to her place. She collapsed right onto the couch like a gorgeous, dead weight. This scheming little leech and I sat down, and I pulled a move I never could have pulled in my past life. I unleashed my fire element to run a deep scan on her. And boom, there it was, right in her core. A swirling vortex of silver-white cosmic energy, tethered to her soul by a single, fragile golden thread. That god-tier SSS rank spatial fruit was still bonding, delicate as a newly delivered package, where the tape hasn't even dried yet. She glared up at me with those gorgeous, venomous eyes.
Yeah, pure disgust.
Even completely wasted, she couldn't mask how much she loathed me. My Mr. Nice Guy routine, the puppy dog eyes, all of it literally made her skin crawl. In her twisted mind, letting me simp for her was charity. To her, I was just a walking, talking ATM. That she found personally offensive. In my past life, that realization would have absolutely shattered me. But in this life, I almost laughed out loud. All those miserable years spent wondering what I did wrong. Turns out, the answer was absolutely nothing. She just viewed me as absolute trash from day one. Honestly, good to know. It simplifies everything. So I spent the next 3 hours, let's call it, aggressively, renegotiating the ownership of that spatial fruit. Through a highly classified, raw physical process that this ancient cultivation system conveniently recognizes as a valid transfer protocol. Hey, don't look at me, I don't make the rules. The universe itself decided that this is how you hijack a soul contract. Go complain to the cosmic developers. 3 hours, 3 whole hours, of what can only be described as the most high-effort performance of my 2 lifetimes. But by the end of it, that golden thread snapped like a cheap hair tie, and that brilliant, silver-white spatial energy came rushing into my veins, like it was desperate to escape her. Welcome home, you beautiful little cheat code. Daddy's got some big plans for you. I finally stood up, buttoned my shirt, and sparked a cigarette with the tip of my finger. Because when you control fire, carrying a lighter is just embarrassing. It's an unwritten rule. Then, I blew the smoke straight in her face. She instantly started hacking, gagging, and screeching. Li Chang'e? Are you even human? I'll sue you into oblivion. You're gonna rot in a cell. Then, a pillow came flying at my face. I literally swatted it away like a basic mosquito. Next, I flashed my phone screen right at her, showing off. Well, let's just say a little recording I kept as an insurance policy. You've been throwing yourself at that rich brat Luffy, right? Imagine if this leaked onto certain corners of the internet. Your move. Bro, her face went from pure rage to absolute horror. In literally half a second.
Absolute chef esquisse.
I casually strolled out, buttoning my collar, my footsteps echoing down the dark hallway. Lou Ryan. I whispered to the empty corridor. In this life, it's your turn to be the sacrificial lamb. Right on cue, my brain exploded with a massive wave of new abilities. Skill number 1. Spatial storage. We're talking a literal pocket dimension. An invisible backpack with infinite inventory space. Basically every doomsday prepper's wildest dream. Skill number 2, teleportation.
Instant transmission style.
I can just blink myself anywhere I want. Do you guys realize how completely broken that is? Skill number 3, spatial marking. It's only half unlocked, but I can already tag locations and targets. Plus, the combo potential with my original fire powers is something I haven't even begun to test out yet. So let's do the math. In just one night, I dodged a total setup, stayed stone cold sober through 15 bottles of liquor, bought off 2 spies for a cool 20 grand, planted pure paranoia directly into my ex's mind, stole the absolute rarest superpower fruit on the entire planet, and walked out with the ultimate blackmail leverage. Honestly, not a bad haul for a dead man's first day back. 14 days left until the apocalypse hits, and I'm just getting warmed up. Alright, so it's officially past 1 a.m. I just stepped out of my ex's apartment with an SSS rank. Spatial superpower. Humming inside my veins like a stolen supercar engine. And you know I've got some testing to do. I ducked into a sketchy, deserted alleyway. The exact kind where stray cats look at you with pure judgment. And focused all my energy on my brand new toy. First test, the inventory storage. I picked up a broken piece of brick, thought, disappear, and boom, gone. Vanished faster than my dignity did in my previous life. But when I checked inside my mind to see the space, I almost wiped out. The storage dimension was a massive cube, 1,000 meters long, 1,000 meters wide, and 1,000 meters high. That is 1 billion cubic meters of space. Bro, I could literally fit a massive IKEA warehouse inside this space. Scratch that, multiple IKEAs. The entire megacorporation easily. And still have enough room left over for the parking lot. The rules are simple. I touch something, think the word store, and boom! It vanishes straight into my pocket dimension. Maybe later, once I level up a bit, I'll be able to snatch items from a distance. But for now, it's strictly hands-on shopping. Next up on the checklist, testing teleportation. I locked my eyes on the very end of the alley, roughly 20 meters out, and thought, get me over there. Blink. Instantly, I was there. I glanced back at where I'd just been standing, and let out a straight-up embarrassing, unmanly squeak. 20 meters, gone in a literal flash. Zero luck. This is actual, real-life fast travel. I spammed it a few more times to be sure. It works flawlessly, but after 3 or 4 consecutive jumps, my lungs were absolutely burning. So yeah, I can't abuse it like a video game glitch just yet. Now for ability number 3, spatial marking. I slapped the brick wall, leaving behind an invisible tracker. I walked 2 full blocks away, and yet I could still feel it perfectly. 300 meters out, due southeast. Then, I pulled the trigger and teleported straight back to it. Boom! Right back facing the exact same wall. Built-in GPS combined with instant transmission? This build is absolutely broken. And here is where it gets truly insane. I have a theory. If I ever cross paths with someone holding time manipulation powers, I could potentially combo our abilities together and warp back to my marked locations in the past. Think about it. Infinite resources, infinite do-overs. But hey, that's a problem for future me. Right now, I desperately need cold, hard cash. Because my checklist for surviving the upcoming apocalypse is insane. Rice, flour, survival cans, gallons of water, medical supplies, fuel, and serious firepower. And I have to secure every single bit of it in just 14 days. All without landing myself in a jail cell. Sure, hitting a bank would be a breeze with teleportation. But I don't have the time to play cat and mouse with the cops. Right on cue, my phone starts buzzing. And guess who it is? Lu Chong, Ryan's toxic little brother. The literal trash bag who shoved me straight into a zombie horde. In my previous timeline. And he's calling me at 2 in the morning. Club music was blasting through the line so violently. My entire speaker was rattling. Jo, Le Chonga. Yo, where you at? Come slide through. I'm chilling at the Golden Crown. It's the hottest club in Hangzhou. Come see how real ballers live. Translation. Come fund my entire night. In my past life, this absolute clown lured me to clubs 24/7. And every single time, without fail, bro, I forgot my wallet. Cover me real quick. I'll Venmo you back later. Spoiler alert. He never paid me back. Not a single cent. That, I forgot my card. Excuse was so aggressively recycled. It honestly deserved a green energy award. But then, My brain cooked up something beautiful. I suddenly connected two massive dots. Golden Crown nightclub and the giant underground vault beneath it. In my previous life, right after the cataclysmic earthquake hit, this entire building collapsed. When scavengers cleared the rubble, they breached a massive, hidden safe underneath. It was literally bursting with gold bricks and cash. Mountains of cold, hard hundreds. Of course, nobody touched it back then. In a zombie apocalypse, a single piece of bread is worth way more than a brick of gold. But right now, before the world goes to hell, that gold is worth billions. And this clueless idiot just invited me right to where it's sitting. On my way, I texted back. Hurry up, VIP room 888. You got 15 minutes. I strolled into room 888. About 20 minutes later, the scene was the exact train wreck you'd expect. Dim neon lights and ridiculously overpriced bottles everywhere. Ace of Spades, Louis XIII, and a dozen random freeloaders passed out across the couches, clinging to whatever consciousness they had left. Right in the center was Lu Chong, groping some poor girl, like he was desperately searching her pockets for spare change. But the second he spotted me, he shoved her aside and practically lunged at me. Finally, sit down, sit down. He aggressively ushered me onto a couch, leaned in close, and whispered his signature line. Bro, do not worry. Tonight is entirely on me. Just, can you swipe your card first? I ran out in such a rush. I forgot my wallet. I'll pay you back instantly. Same old speech. Word for absolute word. Man didn't even bother to update his script between lifetimes. Unbelievable. I just smirked and played along. Sure thing, man. Yo, isn't your sister trying to hook you up with that high-end architect chick, Lin Wei? The one at that elite firm. What's she gonna say if she sees you acting like this? His face instantly twisted in disgust. Ugh. Don't even bring her up. She is so incredibly stuck up. I took her to this insanely expensive restaurant, and she wouldn't even let me hold her hand. Can you believe that? Forget her. She's a total snooze fest. Then, he aggressively grabbed the girl next to him, like she was some kind of cheap stress toy, shooing me away. Just go pay the bill already. Like I told you, I totally forgot my card. I stood up, keeping it completely cool, serene as a monk. No worries. Let me hit the restroom first. But the exact second the door swung shut behind me, I heard him loudly bragging to his entire squad. See that loser? That's my sister's little obedient pet. I snap my fingers for him to pay, and he comes running. The entire VIP room erupted into mocking laughter. I paused in the hallway, a slow grin spreading across my face. Laugh it up while you still can, buddy. Because while you're in there, groping random girls and chugging overpriced champagne, that you can't even afford, I'm about to ghost walk straight into your family's vault and vacuum up every single gold bar and stack of cash inside. Armed with my brand new billion cubic meter pocket dimension, you basically just invited a fox straight into your henhouse. And guess what? This fox has overpowered spatial storage. It's time to go on an absolute shopping spree in their vault. Completely uninvited, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I casually strolled over to the elevator, flicked a tiny fireball directly at the security camera. Rest in peace, little buddy. And pressed the button for the penthouse floor. Floor 18, an incredibly lavish hallway. Plush red carpets, dripping crystal chandeliers, and eyesore abstract paintings that easily cost way more than my entire apartment. Classic rich people art. The kind of garbage where you stare at it for 10 minutes and still see nothing but an insanely expensive sneeze. I slipped through the fire exit and headed up to the roof. The building's layout is shaped like a giant U. The nightclub takes up the entire left wing, while the vault is on the right. Now, that right wing has serious security, probably heavily armed guards. But as for the left wing, nobody ever bothers to guard the rooftop. Like, what kind of rich kid goes stargazing at 2 in the morning? Oh wait, this guy does. The gap between the rooftops was about 15 meters. My teleport range is 20. Simple math, we are good to go. Time to fly. Blink. I land on the other roof and immediately spot 2 security cameras, staring me down with their creepy little red eyes. 2 quick-fire mini fireballs later, and they were permanently blinded. Sorry, boys. Enjoy your early retirement. Now for the vault. We're talking reinforced concrete walls, literally half a meter thick. An heavy alloy door equipped with a biometric fingerprint scanner and a passcode lock. The security light blinked at me like it was mocking my life choices. For any normal person, absolutely impossible to crack. Good thing I stopped being a normal human about 4 hours ago. I held up my index finger and conjured the absolute tiniest ember I could manage. Then I compressed it, focused it, pushed every ounce of my mental willpower to spike the temperature. Hotter, even hotter, until the color shifted from bright yellow to blinding white. The air surrounding my fingertip began to warp and distort, looking like a desert highway baking under the summer sun. Sweat was literally pouring down my face. My current mana pool is still absolute garbage. So doing this felt like bench pressing a semi-truck. With one arm, gritting my teeth, I thrust my finger forward. That white-hot needle of flame pierced straight through the reinforced alloy lock, like a hot knife sliding through melted butter. SSS, SSS. The smell was putrid, and the sound was even worse. But it left a perfect, finger-sized hole leading straight inside. I peeked through the opening and saw the faint flicker of blue emergency lights. Perfect. I activated my teleport and blinked right through. And that's when my brain completely short-circuited. Because the entire floor was made of literal gold. And I don't mean there was some gold scattered on the ground. I mean the floor was gold. Solid gold bricks stacked flawlessly from wall to wall, shimmering under the glow of my little finger flame, like some legendary dragon's hoard. And the walls? They weren't normal concrete either. They were built entirely out of cold, hard cash. Bundles of 100 yuan bills, wrapped tightly and stacked all the way from floor to ceiling. Beautifully red, like a field of blooming roses or blood. But mostly, red was the color of me becoming filthy, disgustingly rich. In the next 10 minutes, in my past life, I had walked right past these ruins with a scavenger squad. Back then, the vault had already been blown wide open. Stacks of gold and cold hard cash, just sitting there completely untouched. Because let's be real, in a zombie apocalypse, gold isn't going to feed you, and paper money makes for some pretty terrible toilet paper. I mean, technically you could try, but trust me, it's a bad time. Back then, I remember thinking, man, if I could only go back in time. And well, look at me now. I cracked my knuckles and got straight to work. I tapped the first massive wall of cash. And boom, it vanished instantly into my spatial dimension. A literal mountain of $100 bills materialized inside. Next, I touched the gold bricks. Gone. My pocket dimension was quickly starting to look like Scrooge McDuck's private swimming pool. Then came the jewelry cases.
Pure jade, flawless diamonds.
Pearls and rare gemstones wiped completely clean with a single swipe of my hand, like I was clearing out an all-you-can-eat buffet. And the luxury watches on display.
Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin.
Rolex, Omega, yoink. Yep, all mine. Every single one. Then I saw the antique shelves lined with priceless porcelain, bronze statues and ancient calligraphy scrolls. Honestly, I have no idea what any of this history is, but I don't care, it looks ridiculously expensive. Straight into the void. Next up, the wine wall. An entire floor-to-ceiling cabinet of bottles, where a single pop of a cork could literally buy you a luxury apartment. We're talking Romani Conti, Lafite, Margot Mouton. Look, I'm not even a wine guy. But congratulations, fellas. You just upgraded to a permanent stay in my interdimensional garage. I was operating like a human vacuum cleaner, a literal one-man locust swarm. Everywhere I stepped, reality itself just ceased to exist. In under 10 minutes, the entire vault was picked bone dry. Nothing left but some sad, bare concrete walls. Probably wondering where the hell their life savings just went. But wait, there's more. I caught sight of a hairline fracture along the back wall. A hidden compartment. In my past life, someone had already broken into this spot, so I never actually got to find out what was hidden inside. But today I was getting answers. I fired up another thermal needle, melted right through the heavy wall, and stepped through the gap into a tiny, concealed room. Sitting there inside a pristine glass display case were 2 high-caliber firearms in absolute mint condition, complete with heavy crates of ammo stacked neatly underneath. Oh yeah, these bad boys are going to be absolute lifesavers. During the chaotic early days of the apocalypse, back when the zombies are still slow and weak, while everyone else is out here fighting with literal kitchen knives and baseball bats. But before making my grand exit, I slammed my palm against the vault wall to imprint a spatial mark. Whoever owns this club is clearly packing some serious heat and connections. Hidden high-tech vaults, military-grade hardware, The whole 9 yards. I might need a return trip later. With this mark, I can literally teleport back here. From anywhere on Earth. Standing in the empty vault, I took a good look at the bare concrete walls. Just 5 minutes ago, this single room held enough wealth to buy a small nation. Now, there's nothing left but my own footprints. And the faint, metallic scent of sliced steel. Meanwhile, downstairs, Lu Chong is still hitting on girls. And bragging about how his little lapdog comes running the second he whistles. But little does he know, that same lapdog just robbed this entire place blind. My pocket dimension is currently stacked with billions in cold hard cash and pure gold. Enough priceless gems to empty a jewelry store. A wine collection that could buy a whole neighborhood. Luxury watches worth an entire dealership. Antiques that belong in a museum. And 2 incredibly deadly pieces of military hardware. He dragged me here just to cover his champagne bill, and I'm walking out with the building's entire net worth. Best party of my life. Seriously, 30 minutes. That's all it took to completely drain a high-security vault. I warped back to the rooftop, dusted off my shirt like I just stepped out for a quick smoke, and strolled right back to the elevator, smooth as silk. Just another guy heading back from the restroom. Sure, it was probably the longest bathroom break in history, but let's be real, nobody at a nightclub at 3 a.m. is keeping track of the time. I pushed open the door to VIP room 888. Lu Chong was still acting a fool, hands all over the place, looking like he owned the damn world. Where the hell were you? I've been waiting to settle the tab. Music to my freaking ears. Let's go pay then, I smiled. His entire face lit up like a little kid on Christmas morning. Well, a Christmas where someone else funds all the gifts. He jumped straight up and hollered to the crowd. Keep the bottles flowing. I'm gonna go handle the damage. Then he threw his arm over my shoulder. As if we were lifelong brothers. As the elevator doors closed, he leaned in and whispered, "Just cover the tab for now. I'll Venmo you back. Come on, you know I'm good for it." "Oh, absolutely, buddy. Totally." Next thing you know, we're at the front desk. Some clean-cut kid in a vest was working the counter. Lu Chong aggressively flopped onto a barstool, acting like he literally owned all of Hangzhou. He barks out, "Room 888. Bring me the bill, please." The kid types away for a second, then looks up utterly pale. Sir. Your grand total for tonight comes out to 287,600 yuan. Bro. Nearly 300 grand for a single night. This absolute clown was chugging champagne like it was tap water, all because he thought someone else was footing the bill. But Lu Chong didn't even flinch. He just smugly tilts his chin at me. He's paying. At that, I smiled. A real, genuine, purely wholesome smile from the bottom of my heart. Then, I pulled out my wallet, smoothly slid my card across the counter, punched in my PIN, and just waited. Beep. The clerk stares at his screen, completely frozen. Then he stares at me, his mouth gaping open like a fish. Sua. Lu Chong snaps. What's the hold-up? Let's go. Card declined? Just swipe another one. I carefully put the card back in my wallet. Nice and slow. No need to try another one. I said calmly. This card has exactly $0 on it. Lu Chong's face instantly froze, like someone hit pause on a video. Wait. What? I patted him gently on the shoulder. Literally the exact same way you'd pat a dog. Tonight's on you, bro. You said so yourself. And this was the absolute cherry on top. I leaned in close. Oh. And go ahead and tell your sister I'm dumping her. Effective today. Yeah, we're done. I paused for effect. Also, she was pretty mid anyway. His brain completely short-circuited. He needed 3 full seconds to process that I was already casually strolling toward the exit. And that's when the absolute explosion went off behind me. What the F? You slept with my sister. Get your ass back here. You owe me at least $1 million. I didn't even bother turning around. Just walked right out the front doors into the crisp night air, hands in my pockets, feeling like the absolute king of the world. Behind me, I could hear total chaos erupting, and to my ears, it sounded like a beautiful symphony. Lu Chong frantically tried to chase after me, but a literal wall of bouncers blocked his path. A massive 300,000 yuan bill, and he had no card, no cash, and a sister who wasn't picking up. Oh yeah, he spammed Ryan's phone over and over, and when she finally picked up, from what I could piece together, the conversation was an absolute train wreck. Did that absolute dog sleep with you? Send me 500K right now. I'm completely broke. What do you mean he slept with you and then stiffed the bill? Transfer the cash or I'm telling mom. Click. She hung up and slammed her phone onto the counter. The bartender, witnessing this entire circus play out, looked Lu Chong dead in the eyes and said, "So, no money?" Still trying to act like a big shot, Lu Chong tried to push past him, but 3 massive bouncers immediately boxed him in. He deflated instantly. See, this is the Golden Crown, the most dangerous mob-connected nightclub in Hangzhou. Absolutely nobody dines and dashes here. Nobody. Watching from across the street at 4 a.m., I saw 2 massive guards drag him back inside. He was still screaming hysterically into his phone, screeching about his sister, that absolute dog, and some other words I probably shouldn't repeat. I finally shut off my phone, looked up at the night sky, and couldn't see a single star. Classic city light pollution. But somewhere out there, a massive rock called the Death Star is hurtling toward us. At terrifying cosmic speeds. Just 15 days left. Let's take a quick inventory of tonight's insane haul. Billions in gold bars, billions in cold hard cash. An entire jewelry store, a high-end wine cellar, luxury watches, priceless antiques, military-grade firearms, and one incredibly sweet, delicious piece of revenge on the 2 parasites who murdered me in my past life. Oh, and I officially dumped my toxic ex. Stole her overpowered ability. Framed her brainless brother with a 300k bar tab, and sowed total paranoia between her and her best friends. All in a single night's work. Not bad for a guy who was literally zombie chow just 12 hours ago. Now it's time for some serious apocalypse prep. Leaving Lu Chong to rot in his self-inflicted 300,000 yuan nightmare, I took a quick 10-minute stroll down the block to the ultra-luxurious Hangzhou Intercontinental. 58 stories of absolute luxury. I earned every single inch of this presidential suite tonight. The receptionist hit me with that classic judgmental look, scanning me from head to toe. White tee, basic jeans, and beat-up sneakers. The total net worth of my fit, maybe $5. Her polite smile instantly switched to pure customer service fakery. But then, I slammed my card down onto the counter. Beep, that'll be 88,800 yuan, please. Boom. Her fake smile upgraded to VIP first class instantly. And what was your surname again, sir? Li. As in Li Chang'e. Yep, the exact same guy who was literally homeless. And acting as literal zombie bait just 2 lifetimes ago. But is now casually checking into the mega penthouse. With a whole pocket dimension stacked with billions. Life comes at you fast. When I walked in, the suite was absolutely massive. The living room alone was the size of my entire old apartment. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows gave me a view of the entire Hangzhou skyline. Plush Italian leather couches, fresh exotic flowers everywhere, and a bathtub so gigantic you could literally host a pool party in it. I stood right by the glass, just staring down at the city. It was 4 in the morning, and the cars below looked like tiny glowing bugs. West Lake was just shimmering beautifully in the distance. Enjoy these last quiet, peaceful nights before the world completely burns. Then I did something that I hadn't been able to do properly. In 3 brutal years of surviving the apocalypse, I took a steaming hot shower. You guys seriously don't get it. In my past life, clean water was way more precious than actual gold. A single bottle could buy you things I'm not even allowed to mention here. Most days, we literally just stood out in the pouring rain to wash off. Except the rain was laced with toxic zombie poison, so it was basically just a slow-motion death shower. Back then, I was always completely filthy, always bleeding, and always dealing with infection. But right now, scorching hot water, perfectly clean skin, and absolutely no scars. No brutal bite marks and 0 zombie rot. Suddenly, something warm ran down my face that definitely wasn't shower water. Hey, I'm not crying, you're crying. Shut up. I collapsed straight onto the bed. It felt like a literal cloud. Massive king-sized luxury, absolute heaven. And I instantly passed out for 5 solid hours. No terrifying zombie nightmares. No hearing the screams of dying survivors. Just pure, deep, beautiful, uninterrupted sleep. Honestly, the first time I felt that in either lifetime. I woke up completely naturally at 9 a.m. My bones popped like bubble wrap the second I stretched out. I felt like a brand new human being. I immediately dialed up room service. Send up the absolute most expensive breakfast menu you have. Give me everything. Cut to 20 minutes later. A drop-dead gorgeous waitress rolled in a cart, stacked with enough fuel to feed an entire army. We're talking bacon, eggs, coffee, the absolute works. She set it all up, then threw me that look. Yeah, you know the one. And said, if you need anything, anything at all, just hit up the front desk. Honestly, she was bad. Beautiful eyes, and 100% flirting. But I've got exactly 14 days to survive the end of the world. So hard pass. Her face instantly glitched out for a millisecond, before snapping right back to her professional smile. Hey, can't win 'em all, sweetheart. I sat down with my premium Blue Mountain coffee and crispy-ass bacon, staring out at the gorgeous morning skyline. Below me was rush hour. Countless corporate slaves scurrying around like ants, with sunlight gleaming off the massive skyscrapers. Not a single soul down there had any clue that in 2 weeks, this entire city would be reduced to ashes. But me, I had a master plan and a massive budget. Doing some quick math on last night's ultimate heist, I had roughly $2 billion in straight cash, plus piles of gold bars, luxury jewelry, hype watches, priceless antiques, and elite wines. Total value? Easily around $10 billion. Today's mission: blow a cool $1 billion on survival gear. Just 2 weeks to convert this mountain of wealth into pure survival assets. Time to go shopping. First stop on the list? Wheels. Specifically, apocalypse-ready monster rigs. I took the hotel's blacked-out Mercedes straight to Hongju Auto City, the absolute biggest car market in the entire region. We're talking millions of square feet packed with dealerships and insane custom shops. But I wasn't here to buy some basic BMW or a fragile Lamborghini. Good luck outrunning a horde of zombies in a sports car when the roads are littered with craters. I whipped out my phone and loaded up a live streaming app. There was this one niche creator I'd been keeping an eye on, Hongju Xiao Mei's Hardcore Off-Road Customs. Sitting at around 20K followers, her bio read, the undisputed queen of off-road beasts. In all of Hongju, I tapped into her stream, and boom, there she was, dancing in front of this absolute unit of a dark green truck. Massive lift kit, colossal off-road tires, and roof-mounted searchlights. The kind of machine that looks like it crushes other cars for breakfast. And the girl hyping it up right next to it was. Honestly, she was the polar opposite of that truck. Rocking a tiny crop top and insanely short shorts, she was hitting moves that would make a music video director sweat. The contrast was absolutely wild. Literally monster truck meets dance studio. Total doomsday machine colliding with pure nightclub energy. But I wasn't there to watch her shake it. I needed that truck, because in just 2 weeks, cute TikTok dances won't save you, but a heavily armored, off-road beast with a lifted chassis and blinding searchlights? That baby is going to be worth way more than every single luxury sports car in this entire city combined. Time to secure the bag. I pulled up her live stream, where she was busting moves right next to that massive rig. The chat was absolutely feral, spamming, "She's so hot today," and "Man, I wish I was that car." Normal-ass, thirsty internet behavior. But I needed to bypass the noise, and fast. I swiped open the donation menu and looked for the biggest flex. The carnival gift, worth $3 grand a pop. Let's drop 10 of these bad boys. 30 grand. Boom. Instant high roller status. I slammed that send button, only to get hit with insufficient balance. I stared at my screen in absolute betrayal. Then, reality slapped me in the face. I'd blown $88,000 on that luxury hotel suite last night, meaning my actual checking account was practically drained. Sure, I had billions in net worth, but all that cold, hard cash was currently locked away inside my pocket dimension. And unfortunately, you can't exactly Venmo someone directly from an interdimensional void. So, I scaled it back and sent just one carnival for $3 grand. Still, that was more than enough to completely shatter the stream. With insane golden animations, sending giant spaceships soaring across everyone's screens. Xiao Mei, the streamer, froze dead in her tracks mid-dance. Oh my god. Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much, Lee G, for that absolute big boss energy. Seizing the moment, I typed, "Can we talk in private? I want to commission a custom build." Her eyes instantly lit up like I just popped the question. "Of course. Let me slide into your DMs right now." Just 2 minutes later, I was strolling through the massive Auto City district toward her workshop. Zone B, Bay 18. It was impossible to miss, because that exact same dark, military green beast from her stream was parked right outside. Like a giant, mechanical guard dog. Stepping inside, I was hit with the blinding glare of welding sparks and the screech of grinders. Mechanics in grease-stained coveralls were performing literal surgery on engines. Back in the office, Xiao Mei was signing off her stream for the day. Looks like a VIP just walked in. Catch you guys tonight. She spun around, and damn, I won't lie, she was even more stunning in person. Pixie-cut brown hair, sharp eyebrows, and striking amber eyes. She wore a black vest over a white tee, short shorts and legs that went on forever. She looked like she could completely wreck you in an arm, wrestle and then effortlessly model for a magazine cover. An absolute mind trip, but in the best way possible. I'm Li Ji and I'm Xiao Mei. Real name Zhao Mei Jia. She offered her hand. I took it, soft but definitely calloused. A woman who actually gets her hands dirty. Respect. She scanned me up and down. Plain white tee, jeans, and beat-up sneakers. I looked like I couldn't even afford a bike. But she kept her professional poker face on lock. So, what kind of build are we looking at? Did you bring your ride? No ride. I want to buy one first, then completely mod it. Budget is around 3 million, just for the upgrades. I could literally see the massive dollar signs lighting up in her eyes. She immediately slid closer to me on the couch, her knee practically brushing against mine. What's your style? Hardcore off-road? Heavy-duty bulletproof? Or maybe, she smirked, something with a very spacious backseat? If you catch my drift. This girl has exactly one joke, and she is fully committed to it. I completely ignored the bait and handed her my spec sheet, dropping it flatly like I was just ordering a casual lunch. 6-wheel drive if you can manage it. Full military-grade ballistic armor. Windows that can shrug off rifle rounds. A reinforced chassis with a massive bull bar. Strong enough to ram a dump truck out of the way. Expand the fuel tank capacity to at least 300 liters. Run-flat puncture-proof tires. Roof-mounted solar panels. An integrated freshwater tank. Secure storage units. A fully stocked trauma kit. And tear out the back seats. We're replacing those with a custom sleeping cabin. With every single item I listed, her eyes grew wider and wider. By the end of the list, she was practically shaking with excitement. Li Yi. Are you trying to build an actual doomsday survival rig? Spot on. You have absolutely no idea how close you are. She pulled up some of her workshop's past builds on her tablet, starting with a heavily armored Mercedes G-Wagon, a straight-up military-grade Dongfeng, a monstrous 6-wheel drive Jeep, pure, uncut luxury. Damn, this girl seriously knew her stuff. Importing a beastly 6-wheel Jeep like this easily drops around 1.8 million. Heavy armor plating and thick bulletproof glass? That's another 800K for the reinforced chassis and massive ram bars. Toss in 300K for an upgraded fuel tank, plus 50K for solar power and electrical, and 100K for custom storage and medical gear. That brings the total up. She looked up at me with a smirk. About 3.2 million. Perfect. Fine by me. When you're literally sitting on 10 billion in stolen vault treasure. Going 20% over budget is nothing but a rounding error. So, how fast can you build it? She bit her lip nervously. Normally it takes 3 months. But if I run 3 shifts around the clock, non-stop, 20 days. That's the absolute minimum. 20 days? Bro, the literal apocalypse strikes in 15. My face must have instantly hardened into a scowl, because she completely panicked on the spot. A cool 3 million yuan commission. Was about to walk right out the door. Li Ji, I swear I really can't go any faster. For this kind of high-end work, money isn't the issue. I cut her off. I'll pay extra. Right then, I grabbed the heavy black backpack I brought in, unzipped it, and dumped the whole thing onto her desk with a loud crash. Bundle after bundle of crisp 100 yuan bills. Avalanche straight across her sleek office table. Thick red bricks of cold, hard cash spilled over the edges, with some of them tumbling straight onto the floor. We're talking at least 1 million yuan, just casually waterfalling right onto her desk, like I was just emptying out a bag of potato chips. The look of sheer shock on her face was absolutely priceless. And thank God, unlike the cash I couldn't store in my pocket dimension, Xiao Mei just stood there, completely frozen. She stared blankly at that massive pile of cash, like it had just dropped to one knee and proposed to her. Consider this the down payment, I said, sounding as cool as a cucumber. Finish this beast in 10 days, and I'll throw in another 1 million on top. But if you can't pull it off, I stood up and headed straight for the exit. I'll just find someone else who can. Hearing that, she launched off that couch like a heat-seeking rocket, desperately grabbed my arm, and pressed herself tightly against it. She had the sheer, unadulterated urgency of a woman, watching a life-changing million-yuan walk right out of her life. 10 days. Even if I have to kill myself working, I'll do it. 10 days. We have a deal. She was breathing heavily, completely out of breath. Honestly, I couldn't tell if it was from the sight of the money or the pure rush of adrenaline. Honestly, probably both. But Li Ji, what are you actually planning to do with this ride? I just looked at her and said, you wouldn't believe me even if I told you. She bit her lip, hesitated for a second, and said, fine, add me on WeChat. If you trust me, I'll send you daily updates. Consider this car officially locked down. Done. We swapped contacts, but right before I walked away, I took a quick glance down at her chest and muttered, completely deadpan, personally, I prefer things with a massive capacity. Pause. But hey, as long as you deliver quality work,
I'm perfectly satisfied.
her face instantly went nuclear red. By the time her brain finally rebooted, and she was ready to absolutely cuss me out, I had already ghosted. But right behind me, I faintly heard her yell, hey, I'm a C-cup. That's not even small. Beautiful. An absolute 10 out of 10 interaction. But now I needed a real everyday vehicle. Not that doomsday tank, that monster wouldn't be ready for another 10 days. Right now I needed a pure work truck, a massive shopping cart. Something completely invisible. I walked right past every single luxury brand in Auto City. Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Ferrari, and headed straight toward the most beautiful dealership of them all, Wuling Motors. Now, for the uninitiated, the Wuling Hongguang is China's absolute legendary minivan. The entire thing costs less than some people's wristwatches. It's ugly, it's painfully slow, it's built to haul cabbage and heavy construction materials, and it literally has the sex appeal of a wet cardboard box. But it is the ultimate, flawless apocalypse vehicle. High ground clearance, meaning it goes anywhere, and replacement parts are sitting in every single village in China. Literally any backyard mechanic can fix this thing blindfolded. But most importantly, nobody will ever look twice at it. If you roll up in a Lamborghini during the end of the world, you're getting instantly robbed. But if you roll up in a Wuling, people just assume you're out here delivering tofu. Give me that one, full cash. The salesman, this middle-aged dude just squatting outside, smoking a cigarette, nearly choked. Wait, don't you even want to test drive? I just slammed 50,000 in straight cash onto the hood. It's a car, not a wife. Just wrap it up. He immediately gave me a thumbs up. Hey, you honestly couldn't argue with that logic. 30 minutes later, I was casually cruising through Hangzhou, inside my silver minivan of absolute destiny. Now it was finally time to fill it up. And by fill it up, I'm talking about going on the most insane food shopping spree in human history. First stop, the legendary old Hongju Noodle House. I sat down and ordered a single bowl of beef noodles, took one bite, and almost burst into tears. See, in my past life I once found an expired, instant ramen packet in some post-apocalyptic ruins, and guarded it like pure gold for 2 straight weeks. But right now, I'm eating fresh beef noodles, drowned in rich, savory broth and tender meat, sitting in an actual restaurant like a normal human being. I slammed my chopsticks down, marched right up to the counter and said, give me 300 servings of beef noodles. The owner just blinked. So I added, and 300 pork intestine noodles. His jaw dropped. Make it 300 pickled vegetable noodles too. His brain completely short-circuited. And 300 veggie noodles to top it off. The man literally jumped up and started screaming toward the back. Honey, drop the dishes. Get out here right now. His wife came sprinting out, and he pointed at my massive stack of cold, hard cash with trembling hands, shouting, this absolute madman is buying out the whole menu. She didn't even hesitate for a second. She aggressively wiped her hands on her apron and bellowed, fire up all 4 burners. Let's go. Go, go. Fast forward 40 minutes later, and that local noodle shop looked like an absolute war zone. They had 4 massive pots boiling simultaneously, running a non-stop assembly line, with the entire family sweating absolute bullets. A massive crowd started gathering outside, not even to eat, but just to witness the absolute lunatic buying 1,200 bowls of noodles. I started loading the massive haul into my Wuling van. Well, honestly, I just pretended to load them into the Wuling. In reality, I was secretly teleporting everything straight into my spatial storage. The van was literally just a decoy for show. Right then, I decided to test a theory. I pulled out a noodle box that I'd put in there an hour ago, and it was still scorching hot, still bubbling, with fresh steam rising. Time literally stands completely still inside my storage space. Do you guys even understand how game-changing this is? Hot food stays piping hot for literal eternity. Think about it. When the apocalypse hits, and everyone else is choking down cold canned beans and raw rats to survive, I'll be casually pulling out fresh, steaming hot beef noodles, like I'm carrying a 5-star restaurant right in my pocket. 'Cause, let's be real, I literally am. The rest of my afternoon became a relentless food tornado, blitzing straight through the famous Hangzhou Victory Cake Shop. 200 servings. The grandma's hands shook so violently, she straight up almost dropped her spatula.
Joe, skayong pangkagay.
I'm buying out your entire stand for the day. He stared at me, then at the massive stack of cash, and immediately started flipping those pancakes, like his freaking life depended on it. 3 hours later, I secured 300 portions. Next stop, Longing Tea Pastry Shop. How many fresh ones you got? About 300 boxes. I'll take 'em all. Then to the crayfish restaurant. Give me 3,000 pounds of crayfish. The owner nearly dropped his phone in sheer shock. Say that again? So I repeated myself. Instantly, 3 guys started scrubbing shellfish, like they were competing in the Olympics. The barbecue stand next door? 3,000 lamb skewers, 3,000 beef skewers, and 3,000 sausages. The grill guy's hands literally went numb. Finally, I hit up Garbage Street, the legendary food alley for local college students. Fried chicken, stinky tofu, grilled pig trotters, squid skewers, and takoyaki. I bought out the entire street, especially the stinky tofu 300 servings easy. See, here's a pro tip from my past life. Mutant zombies with enhanced tracking absolutely despise foul odors. Stinky tofu is basically the ultimate zombie repellent. The nastier it smells, the safer you actually are. The stinky tofu lady was absolutely thrilled. Exquisite taste, young man. This is the finest stinky tofu in all of Hangzhou. Look, lady, I am definitely not buying this for the flavor profile. I'm stocking up on a straight-up biological weapon. By 6 p.m., the setting sun was painting the entire city gold. I leaned against my Wuling van and just watched the world go by.
Kooples happilis haring pupletea.
A kid riding his dad's shoulders eating cotton candy, and college kids loudly debating where to get drinks tonight. 14 days from now, 9 out of 10 of these exact people will be dead. I forced myself to look away. No time for sentimentality. I still had way too much shopping to do. Just then, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out to see a staggering 108 unread messages. All from Lu Ruyan. 47 voice notes. And every single one was maxed out at 60 seconds. And right on cue, a video call request started lighting up my screen. I stared at her name flashing aggressively on the display. Didn't answer. Some calls you just gotta let ring. I coldly tapped decline on the video call. 3 seconds later, it rings again. Decline. 3 seconds. Ring. Ryan was blowing up my phone, like a telemarketer with severe abandonment issues. Her profile pic was still that same old photo. White dress, posing by Westlake, looking back with a sweet smile. In my past life, I used to stare at that picture like it was the Mona Lisa. Now, it just ticked me off. I let it ring one more time, before finally hitting accept. Her face popped onto the screen, and holy crap, just one day. One single day without her 10-step makeup routine, and she looked like she'd survived a war zone. Her hair was a messy nest, her skin pale as a ghost, and she had dark circles deep enough to traumatize toddlers. Her nails were chipped with what looked like dried blood underneath. The girl who always looked like she had just stepped off a high-fashion magazine cover. Now looked like she crawled out from a dumpster. Chonga. Her voice sounded like dry sandpaper through her tears. What's up? I asked, casually leaning back against my gorgeous Wuling. Why didn't you answer my calls? She tried to launch into her classic guilt trip, but her engine was running completely on empty. Yesterday's manipulative tears were just an act, but today she was genuinely, utterly falling apart. Did you actually record something? Fresh tears welled up. Please delete it. I'm begging you. Man, this was incredibly satisfying. In my last life, this was the exact puppy dog face she used to bleed my bank account dry. Please help me. Lu Chong, I just need 300,000. She was begging with those exact same tears, and that same pathetic voice, just a totally different vibe now. I smirked. What video? The one from last night. When you... Oh, I interrupted. You mean the part where you were rolling on the floor, begging for my mercy? That video? Her face flushed bright red, then went completely pale, settling on a color that doesn't even exist in nature. You really recorded it? I ignored her and said, by the way, I spent the night in a hotel presidential suite. Cost me 88 grand. Slept like an absolute baby. Her face completely collapsed. She expected me to be groveling, apologizing, and begging her for forgiveness like the old days. Instead, I had just gotten the best sleep of 2 lifetimes. Seeing her trap fail, she quickly pivoted, classic Ryan. The tears instantly dried up, and her real agenda came out. Your brother ran up a 280,000 yuan tab at Golden Crown last night, and now he's locked up at the police station. Chang'e, please. I need a 300,000 loan. Bro, I straight up laughed out loud right in her face over the phone. Like we are literally in the middle of blackmailing each other right now, and this girl still has the absolute audacity to beg for cash? The sheer nerve is honestly impressive. This master manipulator could sell ice to penguins. Sure thing, I replied, flashing a smile as warm as sunshine. But you'll have to meet me at the Cloud Hotel tonight. Instantly, her expression turned to stone. Lee Chang'e, are you even human? You assaulted me last night, and now you want more? I'm calling the cops. I just held the phone away from my ear, patiently waiting for the screeching to stop. Then, cool as ice, I said, go ahead. You're the one who invited me out to drink. You practically dragged me to your apartment. And on that little recording, you definitely didn't sound like someone complaining. Want me to play it back to refresh your memory? Dead silence. Her face instantly went pale as a ghost. What do you even want from me? Funny story. Those were my exact final words in my previous life, right before I bled out in a zombie horde while she just watched. Like I said, meet me at the hotel tonight. I hung up, and the screen went completely dark. Beautiful. Anyway, time to get back to shopping. Looking at my massive haul so far, I'd only spent about 2 million. That barely even scratched the surface of my mountain of cash. At this pathetic rate, I wouldn't even blow through 100 million in 14 days. Buying street food wasn't cutting it. I needed to think bigger. I pulled up my phone and searched for Hongju.
Hua yang cuisine. Upscale.
I immediately locked onto the top-rated spot. Zhongyang Spring, just 3 kilometers away. My Wuling and I were officially en route. The restaurant was located in a stunning standalone building, right by West Lake, decked out in red lanterns and vintage brick walls. It looked straight out of a classic 1920s movie. Stepping inside, it had warm lighting, traditional ink paintings, and the scent of rich sandalwood incense, super high-class vibes. But standing right there at the front desk, wearing a dark green Cheongsam dress, was, no freaking way, Lin Shuai, my gold-digging ex-girlfriend's scheming bestie. The exact same girl I had literally bribed with 10,000 yuan last night. She was working her shift, but the second she looked up, she spotted me, and her face instantly lit up like a Christmas tree. Gage! Seriously, that sweet voice of hers could melt steel beams. She instantly grabbed my arm, clinging to me tightly, and started guiding me inside the restaurant. What brings you here? Are you alone, or with friends? Or did you come just to see me? Man, that 10 grand transfer was truly the gift that kept on giving. Just here to grab a bite, I replied casually. Dining solo at a fancy place like this? She winked. You totally missed me, didn't you? But before I could even reply, the heavy glass door behind us slammed open with a bang. Standing in the doorway, looking like she hadn't slept, eaten, or even brushed her hair in over 24 hours was Lorene. She had spent the entire day completely falling apart, trying to call the cops, picking up the phone, then putting it right back down, absolutely terrified of that blackmail recording. Finally, she decided to track down her best friend, Lin. She desperately needed to talk things through, to make sense of the absolute nightmare from last night, and ask her about that highly suspicious 10,000 yuan transfer. She had marched up to the restaurant, peered through the glass, and saw her supposed best friend, practically draped all over her ex-boyfriend's arm, giggling like they were on some romantic date. In that instant, the last thread of sanity she'd been clinging to all day snapped. What the hell do you two think you're doing? She stormed inside and violently ripped Lin Shuai off my arm. As for me, I just stood back and enjoyed the absolute fireworks show. That 10,000 yuan psychological bomb I planted last night? Yeah, it was detonating right on schedule. And man, did it blow up beautifully. Ryan shoved Lin Shuai so hard she almost face-planted onto the floor. I turned my back for literally 1 day, and you're already throwing yourself all over my man. I was just welcoming a customer. Lin stammered. Welcoming him by clinging to his arm like a leech. And calling him Gage. Lin Shuai's cheek was already burning from the impact. Oh, you heard that right. Ryan had just slapped her with a full open palm. We're talking a cinematic, crisp sound effect and everything. The echo rang out so loud the entire restaurant went dead silent. That's when Lin Shuai snapped. You've lost your mind, Ryan.
I'm insane.
You're the one who took 10 grand from him behind my back. He's the one who offered it. Okay? It's not my fault. That your man actually likes me. Your man. You were supposed to be my best friend. Friend. Please, you. The classic fake innocent girl who's secretly sleeping around. And just like that, it turned into a straight-up UFC match. We're talking hair pulling, clawing and scratching, dresses getting ripped, and Lin Shuai's fancy updo completely collapsing. Her pearl earrings went flying straight to the floor, while Ryan's dress got violently yanked to the side. The entire restaurant instantly froze. Diners were left holding their chopsticks in midair. Phones whipped out, recording everything. Waiters quickly formed a safety perimeter, and as for me, I just took 2 steps back, leaned comfortably against the bar, crossed my arms, and enjoyed the free entertainment. Suddenly, the manager, a sharp, professional-looking woman in a black suit named Ms. Tang, broke up the chaos with 2 security guards and a single sentence. This is a reputable business. Take your trashy personal drama outside. Ryan, panting heavily, pointed a manicured finger at Lin Shuai. She's actively trying to seduce my boyfriend. Lin Shuai, clutching her freshly slapped cheek, cried out, I was just doing my job. Manager Tang completely ignored both of them, and turned to me with a flawless, polite professional smile. Good evening, sir. Would you like a table? I can easily arrange a private room for you. Smart woman. She knew exactly who had the real money tonight. But Ryan blocked my path. Mascara running down her face, dress completely crooked, and in full-blown rage mode. You've been ghosting me all day, straight up ignoring my calls, and now, you have the nerve to show up at the most ridiculously expensive restaurant in Hangzhou. Just to eat. Lin Shuai instantly chimed in. Don't let this fraud fool you, Manager Tang. He's just a pathetic factory worker making barely 5 grand a month. He literally lives in the slums. That 10,000 he gave me? He probably had to borrow it from shady loan sharks. The 2 of them tag-teaming to roast me? Absolutely beautiful. I almost felt a wave of nostalgia. I simply looked at Manager Tang. Give me the entire menu. Every single dish. 100 servings of each. How much will that run me? She blinked in shock, doing some quick mental math. Well, we have exactly 56 dishes, so 100 of each would come out to about 2.3 million yuan, even with a discount. Ryan burst into hysterical laughter. Ha ha ha, 2.3 million. Did you hear that? This broke loser couldn't even dream of. Before she could finish, I slammed my duffel bag onto the counter. With a heavy, satisfying thud, I unzipped it, revealing an absolute avalanche of cash. Thick, crisp stacks of brand new 100 yuan bills, all neatly bound with original bank straps. I slowly started stacking them. 10 bundles, 23 million yuan, stacked up on the bar like a massive wall of red bricks. The entire restaurant went dead silent. Like straight-up funeral silent. You could literally hear someone's chopsticks clatter onto their plate. Ryan's smug laugh completely wiped off her face like a candle snuffed out by a hurricane. Lin Shuai stood there, his mouth opening and closing, looking like a goldfish trying to understand advanced calculus. Here's 3 million, I said, cold and calm. Give me 100 servings of literally everything on the menu. And the leftover 700 grand? Keep it as your tip. I locked eyes with Manager Tang. Is that enough? She took a sharp breath, trying to keep her professional cool, but she was visibly losing her mind. Honestly, it was a mix of both. She nodded frantically. More than enough, sir. I will personally prioritize your order this very second. She whipped around to her staff, barking orders. Tell Chef Zhang to drop every single ticket right now. This gentleman's order takes absolute priority. Then, she personally escorted me to their most lavish VIP suite. We're talking massive floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking a stunning courtyard garden with a custom rock wall, lush bamboo and flowing waterfalls. She poured my tea with her own hands, humbly presented the menu to me, and quietly bowed out, closing the door behind her. So there I was, chilling alone at this massive banquet table, with the golden sunset flooding through the glass. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was Xiaomi with the bunker updates. The steel chassis had just arrived from Tianjin, and the construction crew was already grinding away. To speed things up, I instantly wired her an extra 500 grand bonus. She texted back in literally 0.3 seconds. Yep, money talks. And right on cue, the feast arrived. Authentic Hawaiian cuisine, the ultimate luxury spread. Delicate, slow-braised lion's head meatballs, masterfully carved squirrel-shaped mandarin fish, shredded silk tofu, and braised eel sizzling in hot oil. I took my sweet time, savoring every single bite. In my past life, I couldn't even get a drop of warm soup in the wasteland. But now, I had a table stacked with culinary masterpieces, and all the time in the world to enjoy it. Well, 14 days to be exact. But tonight I was dining like absolute royalty. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Lee Changa, you're a dead man. You slept with my sister and caught it on camera? I'm hiring a crew to hunt you down and end you. It was Lu Chong, screaming his head off. I just smirked and hung up. I blocked his number and took another bite of fish. Absolutely delicious. Oh, and here's the absolute best part. While I was living it up during my private dinner, Manager Tang marched right over to the main entrance, where Lin Shuai and Ryan were still standing frozen. Lin Shuai was completely shell-shocked. You're fired. Lin Shuai's face went dead white. Manager Tang, wait, what? Your final paycheck will be direct deposited. Please pack up and get out. A 3 million yuan VIP customer. Just watched my employee blatantly insult him and trash-talk him like a broke loser. In the high-end restaurant industry, that's not just a rookie mistake, that is instant career suicide. So, let's recap. My petty 10,000 yuan investment in Lin Shuai sparked an epic catfight that completely humiliated Ryan, nuked their friendship, and got Lin Shuai permanently sacked. All while I kicked back in a VIP luxury suite, enjoying the most elite meal of my entire life. Talk about an immeasurable return on investment. Lin Shuai just stood there gaping, looking like someone had completely unplugged her brain. Losing this job wasn't just about losing a basic paycheck. That hostess gig was her ultimate golden ticket. Ultra-luxury restaurant, filthy rich high rollers walking in every single night. She had literally collected more WeChat contacts than a professional telemarketer. The Porsche guy, the flex-heavy Rolex guy, the fancy French dinner guy. She secured all of her targets right here at this front desk. And Manager Tang just totally obliterated it all with 2 savage words. You're fired. And good luck, because nobody else in this industry will ever hire you. Tang cold-bloodedly added, strutting away, every sharp click of her high heels echoing across the floor. Sounded like another final nail in Lin Shuai's coffin. That's when Lin Shuai whipped around to face Ryan, and whatever crumbs were left of their toxic friendship instantly burst into roaring flames. This is all your fault. My fault. You're the one acting like a desperate, psycho clout chaser. What happened next was the verbal equivalent of tossing 2 rabid cats into a blender. They straight up ripped each other to shreds, using venomous words instead of sharp claws this time. While security closely watched, Lin Shuai went completely nuclear. Oh please, you treat every single guy you meet like a walking ATM. You literally showed me the receipts and chat logs yourself. This absolute idiot just wired me $500 today. That other brainless moron is buying me a luxury gift tomorrow. You seriously think those guys are your boyfriends? They're literally walking cash cows to you. And now that your biggest cash cow just dipped, you're trying to blame me? Reen fired back. Oh, like your hands are clean? That Porsche guy smashed and blocked you the very next morning, and the Rolex dude completely ghosted you after 3 dates. They were standing barely a foot apart, throwing glares sharp enough to cut glass, breathing heavy like they just run a whole marathon. Security guards were hovering just a few yards away, looking exactly like referees at a heavyweight boxing match. That's when Ryan whipped out her phone and dialed Lu Chong. I'm at the Jiangnan Spring restaurant. Get your ass over here right now. Oh boy. She's calling in backup, guys, this is about to get juicy. Meanwhile, Lu Chong had just finished signing for a massive loan, just to cover the financial disaster from last night's clubbing. The dude was already having the absolute worst day of his life. Stomping furiously out of the office, he nearly crashed headfirst into someone by the elevator. It was Lin Wei, his arranged marriage prospect. The brilliant architect was standing there in a sleek blue shirt, black trousers and a crisp white lab coat, clutching a stack of complex structural blueprints. She looked like a total boss with an actual career and real self-respect. Naturally, Lu Chong immediately puffed out his chest. "Oh, hey there. Just dropped by to visit a buddy of mine. We're talking over some high-level business investments."
Tutal Kap.
The guy just straight up lies like he breathes. He glanced down at her blueprints, obviously not understanding a single line. "Just drawing some pictures, huh? Must be pretty exhausting. Making what, barely $1,000 a month? Look, once we're married you can just stay home." Lu Chong. Her voice was completely deadpan. "I told you last time. We are completely incompatible." The elevator doors chimed open, and she stepped right out. Her colleague instantly blocked Lu Chong from following her. "Sorry, sir. Authorized personnel only." As the doors slid shut, his eyes caught the prestigious brass plaque on the wall. Chinese Academy of Building Sciences, East China Branch. Down the hall, her colleague whispered, "Hey, who was that guy anyway? A friend of yours?" Lin Wei didn't even break her stride. "No idea. Never seen him before in my life." Talk about emotional damage. But Lu Chong didn't have time to process any of that. He had a massive beating to deliver. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, I was finishing up dinner. And let me tell you, every single dish was a masterpiece. The crispy squirrel fish, the melt-in-your-mouth lion's head meatballs, and that silky smooth tofu. I took my sweet time devouring it all, savoring every single bite like it was my absolute last meal on earth. Which, let's be real, it literally might be in just 14 days. Right then, Xiao Mei pinged me with some progress photos. The massive truck chassis was already fully assembled, and the crew was already welding together the heavy-duty armor frame. Only 8 days left until it's fully built. I immediately wired her another fat stack of cash, and she texted back literally within milliseconds. Seriously, that woman runs on pure caffeine and cold hard cash. I wiped my mouth, stood up, and leisurely strolled toward the exit. Manager Tang at the front desk was looking at me with pure anxiety. "Mr. Lee, wait. Outside. There are." "I know," I interrupted. "Should I call the cops?" she whispered. I looked at her and saw genuine, heartwarming concern in her eyes. She really is a sweet lady. She definitely deserved that massive 700K tip. "No need," I smiled, pushing open the heavy glass doors. Standing right there at the bottom of the steps, bathed in the cheap glow of neon signs, was what looked like the world's least intimidating gang. It was about 7 or 8 thugs with bleached yellow hair, smoky cigarettes dangling lazily from their lips, trying their absolute hardest to look like cold-blooded killers. Yep, Lu Chong's backup had officially arrived. I stood tall at the top of those steps, looking down at them, and honestly, I almost felt bad for them. These clueless idiots had absolutely no idea that they were trying to press a guy who had literally survived 3 brutal years of the zombie apocalypse, robbed billions of dollars from a high-security vault, and possessed godlike fire powers and teleportation abilities. I mean, seriously, this was going to be like sending newborn kittens to fight a legendary dragon. Ryan was standing right there looking like she just hit the lottery jackpot. Arms crossed, chin held high, with her smug, arrogant face cranked up to a maximum 11. Well, Li Chong, you finally decided to crawl out." She immediately started putting on a theatrical show for the crowd. And oh, there definitely was a crowd forming now. Passers-by were slowing down, phones were whipping out, and the entire sidewalk was transforming into a live studio audience. "You actually took out a massive loan just to flex and order all that food. Didn't you just pull that stunt to flex in front of me? Bro, you can't even pay that back. You're nothing but a broke loser playing pretend." I stared at her, and honestly, one single question popped into my mind. How has this woman actually survived into adulthood? Did all of her developmental nutrients go straight to her chest and completely skip her brain? Lu Chong couldn't take it anymore. He shoved her aside, yelling, "Sis, shut up." Then he pointed a finger right at me, like a straight-up villain in a cheap soap opera. "Li Chonga, drop to your knees and beg for forgiveness. Cough up that 28 grand. Delete my sister's video, and maybe I'll let you walk away in one piece." I just looked at this clown, this absolute one-man circus. "You done yapping?" I asked. He blinked, completely thrown off. "What? Oh, you think you're tough? Get him. Instantly, 7 blonde-haired punks rushed me all at once. The first guy swung a tactical baton right at my skull. I casually sidestepped it through a single punch, and he flew 10 feet backward, landing directly inside a trash can. He didn't get back up. Pretty poetic, honestly. The second guy froze in sheer terror for a split second. I planted a heavy kick into his gut, dropping him straight to his knees, as he started dry heaving his dinner. Number 3, 4, and 5? I didn't even have to move my feet. Just 1 punch per customer. A total assembly line of instant knockout service. In literally 3 seconds, all 7 guys were flat on the pavement, groaning like a sad choir of pure regret. I dusted off my hands. There wasn't actually any dirt, but hey, it looked badass, and turned my gaze to Lu Chong. His jaw was on the floor, completely unhinged. See, in Ryan's old memories, I was a total pushover, basically a golden retriever in human form. The kind of guy who takes hits, swallows insults, and never fights back. But that was the old me. The new me just survived 3 brutal years of the zombie apocalypse, forging myself in bloody hand-to-hand combat. To me, these street punks were basically low-level NPCs, running on tutorial difficulty. Lu Chong backed himself into a brick wall, realizing he had nowhere left to run. I grabbed him by the collar with one hand, and effortlessly hoisted him off the ground. His feet dangled uselessly in the air as his face turned a deep shade of purple. And then, I just started handing out slaps. Slap, 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 slap. 15 ruthless slaps in a row. His face instantly went from pretty boy to swollen pufferfish. Symmetrical swelling, man, it was beautiful to watch. Ruyan finally snapped out of her trance and started hitting my back. Let him go. Get your hands off Xiao Chong. I completely ignored her, landing one final, devastating slap, and threw him to the dirt. He collapsed, weeping like a baby, snot and tears flying everywhere. Ruyan rushed straight over, cradling his swollen face. Oh my god. Baby, are you okay? Does it hurt? And then, this is where it gets absolutely beautiful. Luo Chong violently shoved her away. Get off me. This is all your fault. Ruyan froze. If you hadn't let him sleep with you, would he even dare lay a hand on me? It's because you couldn't keep your damn legs closed. The very woman who had been victimized, humiliated and blackmailed for him, was now being publicly blamed by her own brother. The brother she had sacrificed absolutely everything for. The brother she begged me to fund. The brother she literally got me murdered for. In my past life, karma is a beautiful thing, and today she was cooking up a masterpiece. Ruyan still tried to block my path as I walked away. Apologize to Xiao Chong right now, or I'm cutting you off forever. I actually burst out laughing. A real, genuine laugh. She seriously still thought I was desperate for her attention. Ruyan, you still haven't figured out how little you matter now. Have you? She blinked in confusion. Behind her, Luo Chong was still screeching. I'll kill you. I'll ruin you. That completely ruined my mood. I walked back over, planted my boot right on his chest, and pressed down. His face instantly flushed red, then went pale as a sheet. I started to lean in. I was actually considering it, really deeply considering it. In my last life, this exact face smiled as he pushed me straight into a horde of zombies. Just 1 more pound of pressure and... But no, there are only 13 days left until the apocalypse. I can't waste them hiding from a murder charge. He's not worth it. And then, right on cue, police sirens echoed in the distance. A patrol car screeched to a halt, and officers piled out. Leading the pack was a woman with cropped hair and razor-sharp eyes. She walked with an aura that could arrest gravity itself. The 7 punks lying bruised on the asphalt took one look at her and instantly scrambled upright, crossing their legs like obedient schoolboys, dropping to their knees and throwing their hands behind their heads in perfect unison, like some sort of twisted, choreographed dance. It was glaringly obvious they'd done this before, and honestly, probably way too many times. Oh crap. It's the Lady of Death. Drop and cover Zhou. Meet Zhou Baiwan, the absolute most ruthless rising star in the entire Hangzhou police force. They literally call her the Lady Reaper. Sure, her dad basically runs the entire provincial police department, but trust me, she didn't ride any coattails to get here. She has personally beaten down hundreds of hardened gangsters and spoiled entitled rich kids. Once, some hotshot trust fund baby from Beijing rolled into Hangzhou, trying to act like a big deal, and she absolutely decked him in public. Fun fact, that guy is still rotting in a prison cell. As she scanned the chaotic scene, she saw that every single thug was either kissing the dirt or cowering. Well, except for me. I was just standing there with my foot still planted firmly on Lu Chong's chest, looking as casual as a guy waiting for his morning bus. "Why aren't you on the ground?" she demanded, her voice cold enough to freeze lava. I stared at her face, instantly recognizing her from my past life. I remembered hearing about her back then, and how she met her end. It was bad. Like, horrific. Back in the day, I couldn't comprehend how someone so incredibly tough could just get taken out like that. But right now, she was alive, standing right in front of me, and radiating pure, terrifying main character energy. With only 13 days left before the apocalypse, this plot was thickening faster than a cheap gravy. I locked eyes with Officer Zhou Baiwan, the legendary Lady Reaper, and flashed a smirk. Slowly, I lifted my boot off Lu Chong's chest. "Easy, officer. I was just exercising my right to self-defense." The moment he was free, Lu Chong scrambled up like a startled cockroach, and practically threw himself at her feet. "Officer, you have to help me. This psycho assaulted me. Just look at what he did to my face." He pointed frantically at his bruised, swollen pumpkin of a head, ugly, crying and snorting snot all over the pavement. "Lock him up. He's an absolute menace." She looked down at him with the absolute disgust you'd reserve for a fresh piece of wet garbage stuck to your shoe. Then her icy gaze snapped back to me. "Is what he's saying true?" I shrugged, totally unfazed. 7 guys jumped me outside the diner. I protected myself. "Is that seriously a crime?" Her eyebrow twitched in sheer annoyance as she took a dominant step closer. But I didn't flinch. Not even a single millimeter. She was clearly trying to intimidate me, and hey, respect the hustle. But when you've been hunted by level 4 apocalyptic zombies, one angry cop lady doesn't really move the needle anymore. We stood there, less than 3 feet apart, and she was absolutely glaring daggers straight through my soul. I was just chilling there like I was waiting on a latte. "Look, officer," I said. "If you keep staring at me like that, people are gonna start talking." Her glare turned ice cold. Honestly, didn't think that was even possible. She was literally a second away from signaling her squad to haul us all in, when, talk about perfect timing, Manager Tang came sprinting out of the restaurant, clutching a memory card like it was the freaking Olympic torch. "Officer, I can prove it. This guy was 100% acting in self-defense." She laid out the entire story. "These thugs camped outside for a whole 30 minutes, ambushed me the second I stepped out, and threw the first punch. Every single detail caught live on CCTV." She handed over the hard evidence. Officer Joe looked down at the memory card, glanced at Tang, and then locked eyes with me. I hit her with my most innocent me face, which, let's be real, probably wasn't very convincing. Then, she slowly turned to Lu Chong. "Weren't you the one who called us?" His tough guy persona instantly melted like ice cream in the summer heat. "Oh, come on, officer. We were just playing around, you know? Playing around?" The sheer venom in that one phrase could have frozen the sun. She raised her hand in a chillingly casual gesture. "Baggying. Her backup moved like absolute clockwork. The blonde punks surrendered without a fight. Pure muscle memory from getting busted a million times before. But Lu Chong? 2 cops slammed him against the car. "Yo, why are you arresting me? I'm the victim here. Look at my face." Spoiler alert. Nobody gave a damn about his face. Next, the cops marched right up to Ryan. "Ma'am, you're coming down to the station to file a report too." Her jaw completely dropped. "Me? But I didn't even do anything." Every single person involved has to cooperate with the investigation. Click. The handcuffs locked around her wrists. She stared at the cuffs like they were some kind of alien technology. Princess had clearly never seen the inside of a precinct before, and I can guarantee you exactly what was running through her head right then. She was blaming me. Why couldn't Li Chong just hand over the money to Xiao Chong? Why couldn't he just take the beating like a man? Why does he always have to make everything so difficult? Because that is just how dangerously delusional her little world is. To her, I only exist to be used, and any attempt to defend myself gets labeled as toxic. But as the cops tossed her into the back of the squad car, she glued her face to the glass, looking back at me. There I was, standing under the neon lights, hands casually buried in my pockets, not moving an inch. "No tears, no desperate begging." I could read her mind perfectly. She was desperately searching for the old Li Chonga. The simp whose eyes used to light up the second he saw her. The idiot who'd take out a 200K loan from sketchy loan sharks. Just because she pouted. The guy who'd literally drop to his knees and apologize. For things he never even did. Well, that Lee Changa is dead, sweetheart. He's straight up zombie food. Died 3 years ago, in a dark future that hasn't even happened yet. As the police cruisers rolled out, the crowd began to scatter. Manager Tang smoothly walked over. "Mr. Lee, are you all right?" "Never better," I replied. "Thanks to you." She flashed a smile. "Talk about a real one. Hey, you dropped 3 million at my restaurant. Protecting our high-roller VIP clients is just standard protocol." Smart woman. Then she leaned in and added, "By the way, I secured a backup of that security footage." Of course she did. "But don't worry," she whispered. "I'm the only one with encryption access." I gave a slow nod. It's always good to have allies who know the power of leverage. She paused for a second, then asked almost shyly, "So, that woman, your ex?" I didn't say a word. I just offered a cold, knowing smirk. She read between the lines instantly, and being a total professional, she didn't press any further. I turned and walked back to my Wuling, slammed into the driver's seat, and shut my eyes. Suddenly, Officer Joe Baiwan's face flashed in my mind. That piercing glare. Those sharp, lethal eyes. Her silent vibe was loud and clear. "Don't let me catch you slipping or doing anything reckless." In my past life, I actually heard about what went down with her. Year 3 of the apocalypse. She met a brutal, tragic end. I distinctly remember thinking what an absolute waste it was. Someone that powerful, that utterly fearless. Wiped out just like that. But right now, she was very much alive. Standing tall in her crisp uniform, terrifying local thugs with a single glance. Completely convinced that she actually had everything under control. 13 days. In just 13 short days, the undead will literally crawl out from the earth. Cities will turn into mass graves, and law and order will become ancient history. And in a brutal world like that, anyone without supernatural powers, no matter how tough, no matter how genius, or how utterly fearless, is nothing more than a slightly heavier ant. Zhou Buiyuan was the definition of gorgeous, lethal, and utterly doomed. Unless I completely rewrote the script. I fired up the engine, and the Wuling van rolled out of the alley, melting into the night. 13 days left, and my apocalypse shopping list was still massive. But now, a brand new thought was living rent-free in my head, right alongside my supply logistics and absolute revenge plans. Maybe, just maybe in this timeline, everyone doesn't have to die. May 3rd. Exactly 12 days until impact. I woke up and immediately grabbed my phone. Shout out to Xiao Mei because that woman's caffeine-fueled soul had literally been grinding through the night. Her text read, "Armor plating fully welded. Starting the interior today. Upgraded the fuel tank to 350 liters. That's 50 more than we planned. Extra $3,000. Cool." I typed back instantly, "Perfect. I'm coming to check it out in 2 days." Before I could even blink, she shot back an okay emoji. I swear, that woman types faster than I can teleport. Alright, time to go grocery shopping again. But we're not talking about a cute little street food run like yesterday. Today's mission? Securing the 8 great cuisines of China. And I was buying them all out in a single day. Stop number 1. The Northeast Chinese Guangdong Courtyard. It was 8 a.m., and the lady at the counter was casually cracking sunflower seeds. The second I walked in, I slammed 10 grand in cash right on the counter. "Give me every single dish on your menu. 300 orders of each." She choked so hard on her sunflower seed she almost met her maker right there. "Are you for real?" I just pulled out another fat stack. 20 grand total. That's just the deposit. How fast can you get it done? Hearing that, her entire attitude did a complete 180. Suddenly, I was her absolute favorite person in the entire universe. She grabbed the landline and started screaming, "Old Zhang, wake up. We just hit the jackpot." 20 minutes later, a massive chef stumbled out, still half asleep and groaning, "Who the hell is calling at?" Then he saw the literal wall of cash. Pure silence. "Triple wages," I announced. "Finish this today, and every single person gets a 2,000 yuan bonus." Bro sprinted to the kitchen so incredibly fast. His apron was literally flapping behind him like a superhero cape. "Wife, get your butt in here. Fire up the stoves." Alright, stop number 2. Cantonese. Yugong. This place was high-end, surrounded by flex rides like BMWs and Mercedes. The manager strutted out in a perfectly pressed suit, took one look at my fit, a basic white tee, jeans, and regular sneakers, and his customer service energy instantly deflated. But then, I unzipped my bag, unleashing a literal waterfall of cash. My energy was back. I wanted every single dish on the menu. 300 servings of each. The manager froze. Sir, we have over 100 different dishes here. We'd need at least 3 days to prep all of that. I'll pay a 50% premium. He hesitated, shaking his head. Look, money isn't the problem. Double the price. His mouth snapped shut. After 3 seconds of intense soul-searching, he whipped out his phone. He was already calling in reinforcements from 2 other branches. We'll have everything ready for you by 8 p.m. tonight. As I turned to leave, he jogged up. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, is this massive order for a corporate retreat? Or maybe catering for a film crew? I didn't even slow down. Film crew catering. Ah, of course. You must be the executive producer. Sure. Whatever helps you sleep at night, man. By lunchtime, rumors were already spreading like wildfire. I was grabbing a bite at a Sichuan joint in West City, when I overheard 2 guys gossiping at the next table. Bro, did you hear the news? Some crazy dude just bought out the entire menu at Guangdong Courtyard. 300 orders of literally everything. No way. What kind of absolute clown? I mean, what kind of insane tycoon does that? My cousin works there, and he said, the guy dropped 30 grand in cash like it was pocket change. Their kitchen is literally on fire right now. I slurped my noodles, smiling. The owner of the Sichuan joint was a loud, boisterous lady. In her 50s, built like a military general with a voice like a megaphone. Ma'am, I'd like to place a massive order. Sure. How many? Every single dish. 300 of each. Her cleaning rag instantly hit the floor. There was a dead 3-second silence. Then she lunged forward, grabbing my arm with a literal iron grip. It's you. You're the crazy bastard who bought out Guangdong Courtyard. Well, looks like I was a local celebrity now. The mysterious bulk ordering legend of Hangzhou. An actual urban legend in the making. Suddenly, her husband, a scrawny chef named Old Lou, burst out of the kitchen brandishing a spatula. We've got 100 dishes and only 4 line cooks. There's no way we finish this before tomorrow. A 3,000 yuan bonus for every single person if you finish tonight. He vanished back into the kitchen, like a literal magician. All right, everyone up. No brax. We are pulling an all-nighter, boys. The wife was getting her cut of the bonus too. She practically carried me over to VIP seating, and handed me tea with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, overflowing with pure gratitude. May 4th. Only 11 days left. 2 Uhr am. I was cruising through the East District, when a single lonely light caught my eye. A cozy little Hunan joint called Yu Wei Shuren. They should have shut down hours ago. I drove past, hit the brakes, threw it in reverse and walked right up. Locked tight, but the lights inside were blazing. I peered in and saw a waiter totally passed out on the counter. I knocked, nothing. Knocked harder, still dead silence. So I literally kicked the door open. Robbery. This is a robbery. Who's in the back? The waiter shot off his chair like a rocket, looking like he just got hit with a taser. I strolled in and slammed a massive stack of cash on the counter. Instantly, his sheer terror turned into pure, unadulterated greed. Get your boss on the line. Now. He stared at the money, then at me, then back to the sweet, sweet cash. He lunged for the phone so fast. He almost sent the whole receiver flying. And honestly, this is how my life has been lately. Non-stop, day and night, hitting every restaurant in the city. I've basically become an urban legend at this point. The wealthy ghost who pulls up with bags of straight cash and buys out your entire kitchen's inventory. Chefs all over Hangzhou are either totally exhausted or completely hyped. Actually, let's be real, they're both. Thanks to this, my spatial inventory is currently packed, with enough gourmet food to feed a small army. For literal years. And the best part? It's frozen in time. The piping hot dishes are still steaming hot. The ice-cold ones are perfectly chilled. And every single flavor is locked in. My 1 billion cubic meter pocket dimension is the ultimate buffet. While everyone else is starving and fighting over canned beans. During the apocalypse, I'll be whipping out fresh Cantonese dim sum, spicy Sichuan hot pot, and melt-in-your-mouth braised pork. Like a literal culinary wizard. 11 days left, and the ultimate shopping spree doesn't stop. The Hunan restaurant owner finally dragged himself in at 2 a.m., rocking pajamas, slippers, and a bedhead. that looked like he'd survived a Category 5 hurricane. Who broke my door? But then he saw the cash and immediately calmed down. Give me 300 portions of everything. I nodded. The guy's mouth just went full goldfish, open, close, open, close. To be honest, I'd seen this exact same reaction from so many owners by now. I was honestly thinking about calling him the 300-plate legend. It's literally 2 a.m., but I just slapped down another thick brick. 2 fat stacks of cash sitting on the counter. Dude fired off 3 phone calls in 60 seconds flat, and each one sounded way more panicked than the last. Old Lee, drag your butt out of bed. I'm talking triple pay. Cue the absolute screaming on the other end. I don't care about your excuses. Get your behind over here right now, Chef Wong. You're asleep? Doesn't matter. Throw some clothes on.
Triple wage, plus à massif bonus.
Xiao Lu, you know that Shandong chef next door? Drag him along too. Triple pay for the whole squad. 20 minutes later, 5 master chefs and 3 prep cooks were absolutely crammed into that tiny kitchen, banging pots and pans like a heavy metal drumline. The owner stood right next to me, grinning like a nervous wreck. We good to go, boss? I just handed him the warehouse address and walked right out. Behind me, that kitchen was glowing like a literal furnace. Man, cash really does make the world go round. Over the next few days, I became an absolute urban legend. I hit up every major cuisine in the city. Shandong, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Fujian, Hunan, Anhui, you name it. If a restaurant had even a shred of hype, I'd roll up with a bag full of cash and drop the exact same line. Give me 300 of everything. My cover stories were getting wildly creative too. It's for a massive corporate gala. My CEO is actually marrying his sister-in-law. It's a movie wrap party, a celebrity fan meetup, a massive charity dinner for a retirement home. Eventually, one owner got super suspicious. Bro, what company do you even work for? I've literally never heard of it. I casually pulled out another massive stack of hundreds. How about now? Heard of it yet? He shut his mouth instantly. The entire Hangzhou food scene was buzzing with wild rumors about this mysterious Wuling millionaire, aka me. Some dude who rolls up in a beat-up minivan that costs way less than most people's watches, drops literal duffel bags of cash, buys out the entire menu, and just vanishes. They thought I was a secret billionaire heir, or definitely some lucky kid who got a massive government payout. Some even swore it had to be money laundering. When I saw those comments online, I just busted out laughing. Money laundering? Please, buddy. The truth about my cash is way crazier than that. I literally blinked right inside the vault and vacuumed the entire place clean, using a pocket dimension to stockpile the goods. Next, I locked down a warehouse in the suburbs, an abandoned factory with massive walls, a giant security gate, and total privacy. I threw down 3 months' rent up front. The landlord, some 60-year-old dude, asked what I was up to. I told him I was starting a business and he didn't push. Funny how cold, hard cash instantly kills curiosity. May 7th. 8 days left.
4 Uhr AM.
I hit up the biggest wholesale market in Hangzhou. I rolled up in my Wuling van like a general, marching onto a battlefield, stopping at the first veggie stall. How much for the cabbage? I asked. $1.50 a pound. I said, I'll take the entire truck. The vendor's brain completely short-circuited. But then I unzipped my bag. Stacks of crisp red bills. His system rebooted real quick. Within 3 hours, the entire market was buzzing about me. Vendors were literally sprinting toward my van, pushing carts and fighting for my attention. Boss, try my radishes. They're fresh. Boss, celery, harvested just this morning. Boss, look at these potatoes. Absolute premium quality. I stood right in the center of this massive veggie tsunami, like some absolute god of commerce pointing left and right. I want all of it. All of it. Ship it to this address, and I'll pay cash. That afternoon, I took a drive out to the countryside and stumbled upon a massive cabbage field. 20,000 pounds of prime cabbage, just waiting to be harvested. An old farmer stepped out of his greenhouse, looking around. This entire field. I called out, I'm buying it. Name your price. The poor guy nearly swallowed his own tongue. I handed him 30 grand in cold cash. His hands were shaking so hard I thought he'd drop the bills. Boss, what are you even going to do with all this cabbage? Starting a business. I smirked. I hopped back into my Wuling, and in my rear view, I saw him standing frozen in his field, clutching 3 thick stacks of cash. like he'd just encountered an alien. Every night, I'd head back to the warehouse. Towering mountains of fresh produce were piled to the ceiling. Hills of cabbage, giant walls of radishes, and literal pyramids of apples. I'd lock the main gate, stand right in the center of my empire and think a single word, store, and just like that it was gone. Was sucked into my massive billion cubic meter pocket. Dimension like an absolute vacuum, leaving nothing but empty, moonlit concrete behind. May 8th was officially in the books. With only 7 days left, it was time to upgrade from just veggies. I headed to the biggest slaughterhouse in Hangzhou, a massive, sprawling complex, processing tens of thousands of animals every single day. I casually strolled right into the main office, where some bald guy rocking a thick gold chain looked up from his phone. "What do you want, kid?" I unzipped my bag, dumping a literal mountain of cash right onto his desk. His jaw completely dropped. "I need beef, lamb and pork. 100,000 pounds of each." He stared at me blankly before a massive grin slowly spread across his face. "My guy, are you that legendary 300 portions guy?" Turns out, my reputation had actually beaten me to the punch. I had officially become a brand, the 300 portions guy. My myth had breached the local restaurant scene, and trickled all the way down to the slaughterhouses. I let out a silent sigh. So much for trying to fly under the radar. It's kind of hard to stay low-key when you're buying food. Like you're trying to feed a massive army, which technically I am. A one-man army, armed with the world's largest cosmic lunchbox. Yeah, 100,000 pounds each. The bald boss instantly choked on his own spit. "Bro, that's 300,000 pounds of meat. We only process about 10,000 animals a day." I locked eyes with him. "Can you get it done or not?" After 3 agonizing seconds of dead silence, he abruptly stood up, marched straight to his office door and barked, "Old John, get the accountant in here now." 20 minutes later, the contract was signed. The grand total came to 7.4 million. I stared at the figure. "Let's round it up to 8 million. But I need it delivered by tomorrow." He blinked in utter confusion. That's not exactly how rounding works, but okay. Delivery address?" I handed him a note with the warehouse location. His hand was literally trembling as he took the paper. "I'll personally oversee the convoy myself." But as I turned to leave, he just couldn't help himself. "Seriously though, what does one guy need 300,000 pounds of meat for?" Without even looking back, I casually replied, "I'm opening a private zoo." As the door clicked shut, I could practically hear his brain cells short-circuiting. What kind of zoo needs that much meat? Well, one that's stocked entirely with hungry tigers. Next stop, the massive wholesale snack and beverage market. Welcome to the holy grail of junk food. I marched straight up to the very first stall. "Yo, how many spicy strips do you have in stock? How many do you want? Give me all of them." Fast forward 3 hours later, and the entire marketplace was swarming around me, like I was some kind of A-list celebrity. Vendors were literally abandoning their shops just to hunt me down. "Boss, I've got premium imported cookies." "Boss, look at these top-tier gourmet nuts." "Boss, I can hook you up with instant ramen by the crate." "Boss, I've got iced tea ready to ship by the pallet." "Boss, Sprite, Coke, Fanta, you name it. We move them by the literal ton." "Boss, listen, I'm the main regional distributor for Red Bull. Just name your number." I stood dead center in the middle of this capitalist hurricane, barking orders in every direction like a traffic cop, who was absolutely made of cash. "Take it all. Buy it all. Buy it all. Send it to the same address. Cash on delivery tonight." Right then, Xiaomei texts me, "The ride is fully customized. Come test drive it tomorrow." And man, the attached photos? Absolute perfection. It was a dark green armored beast. Heavy-duty solar panels on top, high-intensity searchlights mounted, and tires the size of actual oil barrels. It literally looked like someone crossbred a military tank with an SUV, and gave it serious anger issues. I checked my pocket dimension storage. My massive mountain of cash finally had a noticeable dent. 5 billion blown already, and I only have 29 days left. I've seriously got to pick up the pace. But here's where the story gets spicy in a completely different way. Remember that high-security vault I totally cleaned out back at the Golden Crown nightclub? Yeah, turns out it wasn't just some wealthy trust fund kid's piggy bank. It was a top-secret strategic slush fund, belonging to massive Japanese corporate entities operating in China. Decades of meticulously hoarded generational wealth. and I completely vacuumed it clean in under 10 minutes. At that exact same moment, up on the ultra-luxurious top floor of the Golden Crown, a powerful mob boss named Inoue Danji stood by the window, glaring down at a photograph of his freshly emptied vault. Behind him, 4 elite bodyguards in black suits stood stiff as statues. Meanwhile, a terrified young man in traditional robes was kneeling on the floor, frantically presenting an intel report. They had already aggressively screened 327 guests from that night. 3 targets are still highly suspicious, and they're hunting them down now. Inoue's eyes went completely dead and cold, like a venomous snake. "Whoever you are," he ice-coldly whispered, "I'll track you down. Yeah, good luck with that, pal. Because in exactly 9 days your precious vault, your entire empire and your whole organization are all gonna end up as straight-up zombie chow. But hey, be my guest. Keep playing detective." Cut to me just chilling on my hotel bed, doom-scrolling through Ryan's texts. 47 unread messages. Literally a whole psychological thriller in text form. 11 p.m. Lu Chong, you absolute piece of trash. If my brother ends up behind bars, I will literally end you.
2 Uhr nachts.
Where are you? Pick up the damn phone. 4 a.m. Please, just sign the settlement paper. That's all I'm asking.
7 Uhr morgens.
Lu Chong is facing real prison time. He's only 20. A felony charge will ruin his future.
10 Uhr am. Chong, bebe.
Look, I messed up. Okay? I'll give you whatever you want. It was pure poetry. She went from blind rage to begging, to a sob story back to rage, and right back to begging. A flawless, toxic cycle. Like a washing machine but for emotional manipulation. I finally clicked on her latest voice note. Cue the raspy, totally exhausted fake crying. "What do I have to do to make you drop the charges against Xiao Chong?" I typed out a quick reply. "Meet me at the Cloud Hotel tonight." Then, I dug up a very specific video from my camera roll, hit send, and flipped my phone face down. See, while I was out here playing the ultimate hoarder, trying to become the Costco of the apocalypse, Ryan hadn't been slacking either. She was already hunting for a new sugar daddy. Right at that moment, she was at a high-end French restaurant, overlooking West Lake, dressed to absolute perfection. Sleek black dress, designer thigh-highs, killer stilettos, the entire thirst trap arsenal was fully deployed. Sitting right across from her was her latest target, Lu Hong. Some big-shot corporate vice president. Dude was in his 50s, sporting a massive beer gut, a receding hairline and a grease-slicked face. He wore a custom Armani suit that was actively fighting for its life against his midsection. A flexed-out Patek Philippe sat on one wrist, and a gaudy gold ring hugged a sausage-like finger. "Miss Lu, a penny for your thoughts?" he purred. And yep, there it was. Ryan's signature playbook, working like clockwork. Lose your current human ATM? Simple. Just secure a new one. Preferably old, filthy rich, and completely clueless. Honestly, some gold diggers never change. Not even if the literal apocalypse was knocking at our door. Now, I wasn't actually there to witness what went down next, but I know Ruyan well enough to piece it all together with absolute forensic precision. See, this girl runs the exact same toxic playbook. Every single time. So, while I was busy stockpiling literal tons of snacks, Ruyan was lounging at the most ridiculously upscale French spot by West Lake, unleashing her weapons-grade charm on a brand new target. Enter Wu Yuhong, the big-shot VP of some massive corporation. The guy is 50, rocking a massive beer belly, receding hairline and a greasy vibe all around. He's the exact type whose designer suit costs way more than his actual morals. Old Wu only had one real hobby, using lucrative business deals to trap young, unsuspecting female reps. His play was honestly pathetic and incredibly basic. Dangle a massive contract in front of them, pour a little too much wine, subtly threaten to blackball their entire career if they say no, and then steer them straight toward a hotel room. He'd pulled this stunt enough times to fill an entire Excel sheet. But here's the kicker. While he thought he was the hunter, our innocent little Ruyan was actually playing him like a cheap fiddle, fleshing out the sweet smiles, the soft, helpless voice. "Oh my gosh, I'm so dizzy. I really can't drink another drop." She was pulling out the absolute peak damsel in distress routine. She desperately needed cash to bail out Lu Chun, and old Wu was basically a walking ATM. The guy was practically salivating at the table, already booking a 5-star suite in his mind, when suddenly, "Who the hell do you think you are?" Boom! Enter Lu Feihong, Hangzhou's ultimate silver spoon elite. His dad literally runs the Provincial Business Association, and his mom is the chairwoman of a multi-billion-dollar public corp. This guy's family could literally acquire Wu Yuhong's entire firm, just to throw it away as a gag gift. Lu Feihong straight up grabs old Wu by his greasy collar and yeets him clean into the neighboring dining table. Plates shatter everywhere, expensive wine goes flying, and his dignity is instantly reduced to ashes. You really thought you could sneak my girl to a hotel room? Old Wu scrambles to his feet, ready to throw hands, until he actually recognizes the face of his attacker. His entire rage evaporates faster than cheap tequila at an open bar. Mr. Lu, please, this is all just a misunderstanding. A complete misunderstanding. But Lu Feihong just slaps him across the face, kicks him in the ribs, and delivers another brutal backhand. Old Wu literally has to drag himself out of that restaurant, like he's barely surviving an active house fire. Meanwhile, Ruian is standing there with perfectly teary eyes, trembling lips, playing the absolute ultimate helpless maiden, who's just been rescued from the jaws of a dragon. Luigi, seriously, thank you. Honestly, I was lost. But her Oscar-worthy performance? Incredible. See, she wasn't dating Lu Fei, she was straight up farming him. And yep, this was the exact guy from my threat earlier. The clueless, ultra-rich heir she'd been stringing along. And right on cue, here he was, throwing hands with corporate executives just to defend her honor. The dude was completely brainwashed. He tried to smoothly slide his arm around her waist, but she dodged it flawlessly. Oh, I'm feeling a bit dizzy. Ah, the classic almost touch. Just close enough to drive him absolutely wild, but far enough to keep him desperately chasing. This girl was running a masterclass in manipulation, and Lu Fei was taking notes with his heart. But wait, because this absolute drama of a soap opera has layers. The restaurant doors burst open yet again. 8 heavy hitters rolled in, led by a young guy, with a face like absolute thunder, and a Patek Philippe on his wrist, worth a cool 3 million yuan. Enter Zhao Tianhao. This is Beijing old money royalty. His dad is a massive political heavyweight in the capital. This guy is a level on the food chain way above Lu Fei, the apex predator that eats other sharks. And word on the street was he just got out of jail. Officer Zhou Baiwan had locked him up weeks ago for raising hell in Hangzhou. Needless to say, he was in a terrible mood. The second Lu Fei saw him, his entire vibe shifted. The swaggering alpha male, who was just flexing on a helpless businessman, suddenly stood at attention like a private, forcing a smile, instantly switching from "I run this town" to "please don't kill me." "Oh, Haoji, you're out. I was literally just about to come pay my respects." Zhao Tianhao looked at him like a bug on his windshield. Didn't say a single word, just brushed right past him. But as he passed Ryan's table, he paused for a split second, locked eyes with her, then kept moving. One of his goons slithered up to Lu Fei with a smug grin. "Yo, little Lu Fei, your girl is looking pretty fine. Listen up. Hao Ji is throwing a VIP bash in a couple days. You know what you gotta do, right?" Lu Fei's back instantly broke out into a cold sweat. And that, guys, is how the predator food chain works. Old Wu thought he was the ultimate hunter, but Ryan was actually the one hunting him. Meanwhile, Lu Fei thought he was hunting Ryan. Meanwhile, Zhao Tianhao was circling the entire room, looking like an apex predator eyeing its prey. But hey, there's always a bigger fish in the sea. At that exact moment, I was chilling in a midnight warehouse, just waving my hands over literal mountains of snacks, watching them instantly vanish into my pocket dimension. They can keep their pathetic little power games. In exactly 14 days, none of that clout will even matter, because the apocalypse is coming, and I'll be the one holding all the cards. Now, I wasn't actually at that fancy French restaurant, but I managed to piece together the absolute chaos that went down right after I sent that text. Honestly, guys, it was like watching a savage National Geographic documentary, where every single animal is trying to rip each other's throats out. Take Lu Fei, for example. This rich punk had just heroically knocked out old Wu, standing there thinking he'd successfully won the girl. But then, his intrusive thoughts took over. See, Zhao Tianhao wanted Ryan for his own VIP party. And if Lu Fei didn't lock her down fast, he'd lose her forever. So our hero walks over to the drink station, pulls out a shady packet of powder his buddy gave him, the kind that instantly knocks you completely unconscious, and stirs it straight into a glass of water. Bro went from Prince Charming to straight-up predator in 60 seconds flat. But that's just the toxic world Ryan lives in. Every guy around her is just a monster disguised. in an expensive suit. He brings the glass over to her, flashing a fake warm smile and says, "Here, drink some water. You need to sober up." But right as she reaches for it, her phone buzzes. It's my message. "Come to the Cloud Hotel tonight." Attached with a single video file. She didn't even need to press play to know what it was. Her hands immediately start shaking so violently that she almost shatters the glass right there. The exact same glass meant to put her lights out. Panicking, she bolts, muttering some lame excuse about her mom being sick, snatches her purse, and sprints out the door in her high heels. Lu Fei tries to chase after her, but completely freezes. Zhao Tianhao's enforcer was staring him down from the staircase, and little Lu didn't dare make a single move. He just glares at the spiked drink in frustration, before slamming it onto the floor. Imagine having a 3 million yuan watch, a designer suit, and a massive family legacy, and still being completely powerless to get what you want. Meanwhile, Ryan is sprinting through the dark streets, ducking into a sketchy alleyway, collapsing against the brick wall, desperately gasping for air. She stared down at her phone, my text burning right through the screen. She had exactly two choices. Ghost me and that devastating video goes viral instantly, utterly destroying the empire she built with Lu Fei and every other simp in her orbit. Or, come face me. She immediately hailed a cab. Cut to the Cloud Hotel 20 minutes later. She was violently hammering on my door, like she was trying to tear the whole place down. The second I swung it open, there she stood. Hair completely wrecked, dress all wrinkled, sweating bullets with eyes burning blood red. Not sad, heartbroken red, pure, unadulterated rage red. She looked like a pissed-off peacock, ready to claw my eyes out. She violently shoved past me into the room. "Li Chang'e, you have officially crossed the line. Sign the settlement waiver right now. Do you have any idea where Xiaochong is? He's locked in a holding cell. He's barely 20. A criminal record will ruin his entire future." I just leaned casually against the doorframe, waiting for her little temper tantrum to blow over. Then, I dropped it with zero emotion. "His life is ruined? Why the hell should I care?" She instantly froze. The old, pathetic Li Chang'e would have folded in a heartbeat. One fake tear and he'd sign his life away. Realizing her charm failed, she went ice-cold and threatening. "If you don't sign this right this second, I will drag you to court. I don't give a damn if it destroys my own reputation in the process." I locked eyes with her, but underneath that tough act, her panicked eyes were screaming a completely different story. "Please, God, don't call my bluff." I just smirked, slowly raising my phone. "Sue me with what evidence, exactly? Because I've got all the receipts right here." The color completely drained from her face. And in that exact moment, standing under the pale moonlight, flooding through the massive balcony windows, a rush of toxic memories came bleeding back. Her voice from my past life, dripping with sweet poison. "Chang'e, you truly love me, right? Hand over the power fruit to Lu Chong. Back then, I gave her absolutely everything. My powers, my future, my entire damn life. And how did she repay me? She fed me straight to the zombies." I snapped my eyes shut, then opened them with pure, lethal focus. "Ryan, you already know what I want. I ordered you to get your ass over here, and you obeyed. So let's stop playing these pathetic games." She stood there bathed in the moonlight, completely cornered. Totally out of options, out of schemes. For once in her life, she was the one getting played. The ultimate puppet master had finally become the puppet. Was I proud of this? Not exactly. But this wasn't about pride. This was about balance, about settling a massive debt. From a past life she doesn't even remember living. Outside the window, the city lights glittered. Only 7 days left until it all burns to ashes. And somewhere on the top floor of the Golden Crown, a ruthless Japanese tycoon was getting dangerously close to finding out who cleaned out his vault. The clock is ticking. Honestly, I'll spare you the gritty details of what went down that night. It wasn't pretty, and it sure as hell wasn't heroic. Just raw, ugly revenge wrapped in years of toxic history. By 3 a.m., the room had fallen dead silent, save for the quiet, broken whimpering of someone who had been utterly shattered. She lay there in absolute ruins, covered in marks and dried tears. She looked like a completely different person, compared to the polished beauty who had walked in. Yet even now, even after all of that, the very first words out of her trembling mouth were, "Please, sign the release waiver for Xiaochong." Still thinking about her precious little brother. The same brother who literally shoved me into a zombie horde. The same brother who constantly dragged her name through the mud and blamed her for every single failure. That brother. I just stared down at her, feeling something twist uncomfortably in my chest. It wasn't quite guilt, but it was something close to it. Something I really didn't want to overthink right now. By 7 a.m., the morning sun was flooding through the glass. As if nothing had happened. I signed the forgiveness letter. 3 quick pen strokes and I was done. I walked out. The door clicked shut behind me. She got exactly what she came for. Lu Chong would be set free. And as for me, I stepped out into the crisp morning air, breathing in the rich aroma of street food, mixed with coffee drifting down from a nearby balcony, and pulled up my phone. It was a text from the mechanic. Final tuning is wrapped up today. Ready for pickup this afternoon. The attached photos showed off my absolute beast of a rig. A dark green, heavily armored Manchester, with solar panels gleaming and heavy-duty searchlights mounted, rolling on tires as massive as tank treads. My apocalypse-ready war chariot was fully prepped with days to spare. But first, time for some luxury real estate shopping. I still had billions left to burn, and my spatial storage pocket was already looking like the world's biggest Costco warehouse. So why not flex a bit and add a mansion to the cart? Buying property wasn't originally part of the plan. Massive earthquakes and tsunamis are gonna flatten most of civilization anyway. Plus, later on in the apocalypse, high-tier Earth-type awakened can literally sprout fortresses straight out of the ground, like absolute magic mushrooms. But hey, I had cash to burn, and having an elite safe house for year 1 wouldn't hurt. A few days would be plenty of time to throw in some hardcore waterproofing and military-grade insulation upgrades. I rolled up in my beat-up Wuling minivan to Panther Manor, literally the most ridiculously affluent gated villa community in all of Hongju. We're talking pristine mountain roads, perfectly manicured hedges, and vintage, high-end lampposts every 50 meters. Massive, ultra-luxury mansions peeked through the lush trees. The security guard stared down at my rusted minivan, like I had just ghost-ridden a shopping cart, straight into a high-end Ferrari dealership. "Sir, who are you visiting?" "I'm actually here to check out a property. I've got an appointment." He checked his VIP list and reluctantly waved me through, but the pure judgment on his face said it all. This kid is either completely lost or out of his damn mind. Cruising halfway up the hill, I spotted a sleek, white BMW parked right outside a massive, 3-story villa. Waiting out front was my designated elite real estate agent, Zhou Yutong, late 20s, tall, and incredibly polished. The exact kind of high-class woman whose smile costs a smooth 6% commission. She watched my ragged Wuling pull up, and her left eye twitched. Just a micro-expression, but she masked it instantly. Professional to the absolute core. "Mr. Li, pleasure to meet you. I'm Zhou Yutong, your agent." Oh boy, here we go. Yet another person about to learn the hard way that the low-key guy rocking a $5 outfit actually packs more liquid cash than their entire premium client list combined. Man, this trope never gets old. The agent casually scanned my outfit, and I could practically hear her internal gears grinding as she instantly classified me as a total waste of time. Basic white tee, faded jeans, and beat-up sneakers. The grand total value? Barely covers a single appetizer at the 5-star restaurant I bought out yesterday. But to her credit, she kept that flawless corporate smile locked in. Major props for the composure. "Welcome. This is the absolute crown jewel of Panther Manor." She beamed, gracefully leading the way inside. And honestly, her sales pitch was absolute fire. The entire complex was anchored straight into bedrock, drilled a massive 32 meters deep into solid stone. We're talking a full-on military-grade titanium alloy frame, certified to shrug off a magnitude 8 earthquake like it's nothing. Hell, the ocean would literally have to rise 200 meters, just to wet the welcome mat. But here's the kicker. She had zero clue I'd actually survived here in my past life. 3 brutal years into the apocalypse, this exact neighborhood was one of the incredibly few zones still left standing. Sure, all of Hongju had cracked walls and shattered windows, but the core structure held strong. Survivors literal years later were still thriving off stockpiled loot inside. This wasn't just some luxury estate. It was a battle-tested, apocalypse-proof fortress. She ended up showing me 3 different properties, and I instantly picked the prime spot nestled halfway up the mountain, backed completely against the rugged hillside. It boasted 3 sides of wide-open views, and only one single road in. 680 square meters of pure potential, complete with a basement and garage. That's when she dropped the price tag, acting all casual, clearly waiting for me to choke on my own breath. 108 million yuan. But hey, we have excellent financing plans or maybe a smaller layout. If the budget is a bit tight, I'll take it. She blinked hard. Wait. Excuse me? This exact one. I'm buying it right now. She scanned my beat-up shoes, stared at my face, and then looked right back down at my shoes. Sir, the down payment alone is a cool 20 million. Without a word, I walked over to my Wuling van and popped the back door. Bro, her soul literally left her body. Half the van was stacked floor to ceiling with raw, bundled cash. Thick red bricks of 100 yuan bills, flawlessly organized and practically glowing under the sunlight, looking like the world's most high-stakes game of Tetris. See, in her 5 years of slinging luxury real estate, dealing with Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and hyper-custom suits, she had never once seen a guy pull up in a dented minivan, with 20 million in cold, hard cash in the trunk. Her entire personality instantly rebooted. That subtle, judgmental disdain instantly vanished, replaced by a wild mix of pure awe, and a sudden urge to marry this man on the spot. Oh, Mr. Lee, you are just so incredibly low-key. She leaned in close, deploying her finest perfume, her voice instantly dropping into full cotton candy mode. Such a massive, beautiful house. For just one person? Hey, don't you get lonely out here at night? I live just down the road. I could easily slide over and keep you company. I yanked my arm back. Yeah, no thanks. But she wasn't giving up. Come on, I've got skills. Trust me, I'm highly talented at all kinds of things. And I'm especially good with my mouth. Great. Then you can start by helping me haul 20 million in cold, hard cash inside. That shut her up real quick. 10 minutes later, the contract was signed. And how did I pay? I literally handed over the cash in trash bags. Jeep, actual, literal garbage bags. Imagine buying a 100 million yuan luxury villa with trash bags full of cash. Honestly, the sheer flex of it was a work of art. With the keys secured, I immediately called in a heavy-duty renovation crew. The foreman's son rolled up with 3 guys. Albeit, thick-necked and looking like they could bench press the entire house. I handed him my custom blueprint. Step 1, bulletproof windows. Step 2, every door locks down like a vault from the inside. Waterproof everything. And reinforce the insulated roof with a thick layer of steel mesh. The basement needs to be airtight, packed with heavy-duty steel shelving. Oh, and swap the garage door for an armored, reinforced steel shutter. Bulletproof steel mesh? Son scratched his head, completely baffled. Look, Mr. Lee. It's not like meteorites are about to rain down from the sky or anything. I just locked eyes with him, didn't say a word. He instantly shut his mouth. Smart guy. I need this done in 3 days, I said. I'll pay triple wages. Here's a 50,000 cash deposit right now. He snatched those bills like a man starving for oxygen. My crew will be here in exactly 1 hour. By 2 p.m., I pulled up to Xiaomei's workshop, and there she was, my absolute baby, my gorgeous, downright terrifying armored beast. The Mengsha was basking in the afternoon sun, looking like a sleeping dragon with its dark green armor plates gleaming. The custom solar panels on the roof fit so flawlessly, they looked like scales. Massive searchlights, the size of dinner plates, stared menacingly forward. And those tires? They looked ready to flatten a sedan, without even feeling a bump. Xiaomei was standing right next to it, wearing greasy work pants, her hair up in a ponytail. She had grease smudged on her face, grinning from ear to ear. Li, get over here and check this out. Only 4 days left until the apocalypse, and I had just secured my ultimate war machine, bought an absolute mountain fortress, and still had billions burning a hole in my pocket. The era of driving basic hatchbacks is officially over. The age of the tank has begun. I slowly walked around the massive truck, feeling like a little kid staring at his dream Christmas present. Xiaomei followed close behind. She slaps the chassis like a proud mom showing off a straight-A report card. Authentic miniature chassis right here, she brags. 6-wheel drive, reinforced 3 times over. If you get into a head-on collision with a literal dump truck, the truck driver better have their will written out first. Crouching down, she points directly underneath the vehicle. See this steel plating? It's not just bulletproof. It's completely mine-proof. If someone drops a bomb on you, well, you'll definitely be annoyed by the noise. But you'll be alive and annoyed. Smacking the massive tire, she adds, military-grade run flats. Nails? They'll just bend. And these custom rims. They boast double the weight capacity of stock wheels. You could literally stack this thing with gold bars. And the suspension wouldn't even flinch. With a dramatic flourish, she pops the massive hood. Behold, the heart of the beast. A V8 twin-turbo diesel, completely coated in nano-explosive-resistant paint. Stock was 600 horsepower, but I tuned the ECU myself. Now it's pushing a massive 700. A full tank gets you 800 kilometers. But wait, there's more. I threw in a secondary fuel tank, 350 liters total, giving you a crazy 1,500 kilometers on a single fill-up. Bro, this gas tank is officially bigger than your bathtub. I lean in for a closer look. Honestly, this engine looks like it could power a small warship. Thick, heavy-duty piping and rock-solid construction. It's explicitly built to survive the apocalypse. Which is exactly what I need to do. She nimbly climbs up to the roof. Flexible solar panels, fused directly into the top. I literally tried smashing them with a sledgehammer. And the hammer lost. These bad boys generate 20 kilowatts for every day of sunshine. There's even a dedicated outlet for a portable stove. You can literally cook hot pot out in the middle of nowhere. Checking out the interior, it's exactly what I ordered. Zero fancy touchscreens, zero backup cameras. None of that useless luxury nonsense. Just a massive, rugged steering wheel, a chunky manual gearbox, and pure, unadulterated power. I grabbed the gear shift to test it out. Clack, this heavy metal on metal. Feels as solid as a handshake between two mountains. Next, she pops open the rear cargo area. Easily fits 2 weeks' worth of survival supplies. Fold these rear seats completely flat. And boom, you get a massive 2x1.5 meter sleeping deck. Then, she leans closer with a sly, knowing grin. And the best hidden feature? This fold-out bed is specifically optimized for vigorous activities. Talk about a one-track mind. This woman is completely obsessed. But hey, you gotta respect the hustle. Wow, you really thought of everything, I muttered. That's literally my job. What if you take a lady camping? Gotta be ready for anything. Then she whipped out a small booklet. It was a basic 5 or 6 page maintenance manual. But it completely simplified every single thing about this truck. Seriously, a total idiot could fix the thing using this guide. I flipped through, checking out the engine diagrams, troubleshooting steps, and oil change procedures. Everything was hand-drawn and crystal clear. Turns out she stripped out all those annoying, complex electronic sensors and replaced it all with old-school mechanical parts. Now, any random roadside mechanic with a basic wrench could easily service this absolute beast. That's when I noticed the paper felt super bizarre. It was incredibly thick and rigid. Special blast-resistant paper, she said with a smug grin. Fireproof, waterproof, and totally shock-resistant. You couldn't burn this with a lighter if you tried. To prove her point, she tilted the booklet sideways and aggressively scraped it against a wooden crate. It actually gouged a deep scratch mark right into the wood. In a pinch, this manual literally doubles as a tactical knife. That'll be 3,800 yuan, by the way. Your car might blow up, but this booklet is surviving the blast. I just stared at her in disbelief. This crazy woman just charged me nearly 4 grand for a glorified pamphlet. But honestly, considering the impending apocalypse, an indestructible repair manual that also functions as a deadly weapon is an absolute steal. I reached into my bag and pulled out 5 solid gold bars. They were as thick as my fingers and the length of my palm. I slammed the gleaming, pure gold chunks right onto the table. Consider it a bonus. Her eyes popped so wide I thought they'd roll out of her head. Wait, is this legit? She immediately bit down, leaving deep tooth marks. Oh my god, bro. You are officially my brother for life. I swear I will build you custom cars in our next reincarnation. She cradled those gold bars so tightly, you'd think they were her newborn children. I decided to leave the truck at her shop for now, since the high-tech garage at my villa wasn't quite ready. Instead, I hopped back into the Wuling and drove into the city. For one final, massive food run. Fried chicken, burgers, fries, rice noodle soup, and piping hot, spicy hot pot. I completely cleaned out half the food stalls on the block. Finally, around 11 p.m., I cruised out to the edge of the city, turning down a dark dirt road that led deep into the woods. After hiking for 20 minutes through the moonlit woods, there it was, the legendary Qinglong Lake. At first glance, it looked tiny, maybe a fraction of West Lake. The silver moonlight danced beautifully across the water, giving off a peaceful vibe, but I knew the dark secret lurking beneath. See, West Lake averages barely 6 feet deep. It's basically a tourist puddle. But Qinglong Lake? It plunges over 50 meters down. And that's because it's not some natural pond. It's a massive, flooded, abandoned mine. An endless web of deep tunnels stretching underground. Staring into those pitch-black depths, a realization hit me. Once the apocalypse strikes, clean water becomes the absolute ultimate resource on Earth. And right here I was standing directly on top of what was essentially a massive underground ocean. With only days left, my armored truck was ready, my fortress was secure, my food stockpile could literally feed a small city, and my bank accounts were still stacked with billions. And now, I had just unlocked an infinite water supply. Every single piece of the puzzle was falling into place. Standing there at the edge of the dark, silent lake, staring deep into the water, a core memory from my past life flashed in my mind. 3 years into the apocalypse, there was this woman. Before the world ended, she was the nation's biggest superstar. Her face used to be plastered on every single billboard and movie poster. Yet there she was, groveling in the mud at a survivor camp, begging some random thug for just a single drop of water. She was willing to trade her entire body and dignity, because in hell, clean water was worth more than gold, more than diamonds, more than life itself. When the meteor hits, its alien virus will contaminate every open water source on the planet. Normal people who drink it will instantly mutate into flesh-eating zombies. And if an awakened survivor drinks it, their superpowers will be permanently stripped away. That's why pure, untainted water is going to be the absolute most priceless treasure on Earth. And right now, I was standing right next to a 50-meter deep, completely sealed reservoir of fresh water hidden inside this mine. I tossed my jacket aside, took a deep breath, and dove right into the abyss. The water was ice cold, but my fire abilities instantly flared up, automatically pumping waves of warmth through my veins. Talk about a built-in internal heater. Pretty handy. As I floated in the dark, silent depths, watching the moonlight filter down through the ripples, and schools of fish scatter around me, I focused entirely on my pocket dimension. I cleared out a massive, dedicated zone within my inventory, a whopping 200 million cubic meters of empty space, just waiting to be filled, so I finally activated it. I took a deep breath. The water didn't even swirl. It just straight up vanished. It was like some invisible god was chugging the lake through a cosmic straw. The water around me evaporated in every single direction, flooding directly into my pocket dimension. Inside my storage, an entire ocean materialized out of thin air. Tons of fish and shrimp got swept in too, frozen in time the exact millisecond they entered, suspended mid-swim like prehistoric bugs in amber. Hey, free seafood forever. That's a nice little bonus. I kept going. 1 minute, 5, 10, boom, 200 million cubic meters, done. I surfaced, gasping for air. The lake's water level had visibly plummeted by a fifth. Let's do some quick math. 200 million cubic meters of pure, clean water. That's enough for 100,000 people to drink, cook, and take a weekly shower for the next 50 years. I climbed out, threw my jacket back on, and gave the lake a smirk. Thanks. Then, I vanished into the dark woods. The next morning, the ultimate shopping spree continues. Only 3 days left. Next stop, the water purification market. I bought 50 massive, industrial-grade water purifiers. The heavy-duty kind that can turn swamp sludge into pristine drinking water. We're talking reverse osmosis, UV sterilization, the whole 9 yards. I cleared out every single shop for a cool $1,000,000. The owners huddled outside, completely dazed, whispering after I left. Is that guy starting a water plant, or what? He bought 20 of mine. My entire inventory is gone. Next, I hit the medical supply district. An entire block, packed with nothing but pharmacies. I tore through those stores like a swarm of locusts. Antibiotics? Give me all of them. Painkillers? Give me all of them. Wound care and trauma supplies? Every single one. 3 hours later, every pharmacy on the block was stripped bone dry. I scored 100 crates of antibiotics, 50 crates of fever meds, 200 crates of wound care, 500 tactical first aid kits, tons of vitamins, blood pressure meds, diabetes treatments, thermometers, and high-end monitoring gear. Total damage? 20 million yuan. The pharmacy owners stood on the sidewalk in absolute shock. Bro, My entire antibiotic shelf is wiped out. He literally cleaned out my whole medical warehouse. Now who's next? An industrial equipment dealer. It was run by a grizzled, old-school technician who had spent his entire life fixing heavy machinery. Since he's been my guy for ages, I handed over the ultimate shopping list. 50 industrial-grade air conditioners, 50 heavy-duty freezers and 50 industrial heaters, 50 massive diesel generators and 50 high-capacity power banks. And right on cue, his jaw absolutely dropped. Yep, that classic "Are you insane?" face. I was getting pretty used to it. Can you pull this off? I asked, unzipping the bag. Boom, a literal mountain of cold, hard cash. I'll make some calls, he stuttered. Fast forward 2 hours later, and it was a done deal. The grand total? 98 million. I just rounded it up to a clean 100 million because honestly, what's a casual 2 mil between bros? Next stop, the electronics mall. 6 massive floors packed with tech. I tracked down the biggest plug there, a chubby wholesale dealer named Boss Ma. Give me 500 top-tier gaming PCs, complete with monitors, mechanical keyboards, and mice. His eyes literally went supernova. Bro, are you trying to open the world's biggest internet cafe? Something like that. Here's 5 million. Can you secure it right now? Now, you might be thinking, gaming rigs for the apocalypse? Really? But look at the big picture. In a world completely stripped of the internet, devoid of entertainment, and drained of all hope, a fully functional PC loaded with video games is worth more than its weight in gold. Morale is everything out there. Plus, these computers double as massive data vaults for maps, medical databases, and blueprints. Knowledge is survival. Let's look at the tally. Water purifiers, life-saving medicine, industrial machinery, and a fleet of high-end computers. That's roughly a staggering 130 million spent in a single day. Remaining balance? About 350 million. Only 3 days left on the clock, and I am still buying, still hoarding, and still stacking. My pocket dimension was starting to look like an absolute ocean of fresh water, packed with frozen fish and enough rations to feed an entire army for decades. We're talking billions in gold, military weapons, luxury goods, heavy industrial hardware, endless medical supplies, and 500 pristine gaming rigs. I am officially the most ridiculously overprepared doomsday survivor on Earth. And the crazy part? I'm not even close to finished. Oh, and as for those computers? Yeah, I had another trick up my sleeve. Boss Ma thought 500 PCs was a massive haul. Goo. I also need every single popular online game, cracked and converted into offline, local LAN network versions. The guy went completely pale. Bro, look, I definitely know a hacker who can do that. But how on earth do you know I know a hacker? I didn't even bother answering. I just unzipped the bag again. Hey, cash talks, and it speaks every language fluently. 5 million extra for the private game servers and the cracks. And throw in 1,000 flagship Huawei smartphones while you're at it. Every single popular mobile game was fully converted to a local offline network, along with 100 high-powered wireless network hubs, capable of blanketing an entire neighborhood with signal. Bro, Boss Ma's hands were literally shaking. Are you trying to build your own country? Close, I replied. Very close. Next, I hit up the clothing market, buying up every single style for every season. Men's and women's apparel, measured in literal tons. Because once the apocalypse hits, nobody is going to be manufacturing fresh denim. That afternoon, Foreman's son called to say the villa was completely finished. I drove up and finally stepped inside my ultimate doomsday mansion. Bulletproof windows as thick as solid brick. An air filtration system that blocks out airborne viruses, and climate control that keeps running no matter how extreme the weather gets. There was a real fireplace with firewood stacked and ready, heated underflooring across the entire house, and a custom bed so massive you could literally land a helicopter on it. Standing on the balcony with the cool night breeze on my face, I looked down at the glittering city lights. In my past life, I slept in freezing rubble, dreaming of a warm, clean bed. But now, I had an absolute fortress on the mountain. I sat back on the plush couch, closed my eyes, and scanned the depths of my infinite pocket dimension. And for the very first time, I looked at the collective hoard. I'd been filling this space, piece by piece, for 2 straight weeks, but I hadn't stepped back to see the sheer scale of it all. Now that I did, honestly, even I was terrified. It was a literal city in there, in the cooked food zone. Dishes from all 8 great culinary traditions of China, tens of thousands of piping hot portions, stacked inside thermal containers like massive edible skyscrapers, towering mountains of crispy fried chicken, deep valleys of savory noodles, and a massive plateau of spicy crayfish. I could eat for 3 straight years without ever repeating a single meal. Over in the raw meat section lay 100,000 pounds each of premium beef, pork, and lamb, all flash-frozen solid. Right next to them were hundreds of thousands of pounds of fresh fish, swept directly from the lakes. Bream, carp, and massive catfish, all frozen mid-swim like icy little statues. In the produce section, colossal mountains of cabbage, towering walls of radishes, and entire orchards of apples, all frozen in time at the absolute peak of freshness. Then came the snack aisle, tons of spicy gluten strips, crates upon crates of sweet cookies, and rooms overflowing with instant ramen. Enough junk food to fully stock 10 entire convenience stores. And in the medical wing, stacks of life-saving antibiotics. We're talking fever meds, heavy-duty painkillers, elite wound care, and endless first aid kits. Literally enough chronic disease medication to stock a whole hospital. Next up, the industrial section. 50 massive AC units, 50 deep freezers, and 50 heavy heaters. Throw in 50 industrial generators and 50 backup batteries, and I've got enough juice to power a military base. Then we hit the tech section. 500 high-end gaming PCs, 1,000 smartphones, and a massive central server. Add 100 network hubs, and I've basically got a private internet. Who cares if the apocalypse is here? It's time for a legendary LAN party. Moving on to the water reservoir, 200 million cubic meters of fresh water, just floating in the void like a glowing blue jewel. There are even live fish and shrimp suspended inside, completely frozen in time mid-swim. It's like the world's most epic giant aquarium screensaver. Then we have the clothing vault. All 4 seasons of drip for both men and women. Enough high-end fashion to outlast doomsday, and look absolutely stunning doing it. I snapped back to reality and burst out laughing. Right there in my empty living room. Just 2 weeks ago, I had absolutely nothing. Now, I had it all. But there were still 2 massive things missing. Grain and fuel. Though honestly, I wasn't sweating the fuel. Hoarding tons of gasoline before the world ends is actually a rookie mistake. It takes up way too much space, is a total explosion hazard, and practically begs thieves to rob you. In my past life, desperate people literally died defending their gas stashes. It's just not worth the headache. Post-doomsday, I can just cruise in my armored truck to every single abandoned gas station in the entire region. I'll just siphon the fuel straight into my time-locked pocket dimension, where it can never evaporate or blow up, and keep it moving. There were 20 massive fuel depots scattered around Hangzhou, not to mention thousands of local gas stations. And let's be real, nobody's going to be guarding them. The staff would either have abandoned ship or turned into brain-eating zombies. So yeah, free gas, infinite storage, and absolutely zero risk. But grain? Now that was the ultimate prize. In my past life, I saw firsthand just how powerful grain could be. There was a massive national grain reserve facility in Shaoshan, right on the outskirts of Hangzhou. When the apocalypse initially triggered, the warehouse manager, who was really just a regular, everyday office worker, immediately locked down the heavy doors and held down the fort with a handful of his co-workers. That single warehouse literally turned him into a god-tier king. He used that massive stockpile of grain to recruit survivors, build a literal army of overpowered awakened fighters, and built one of the absolute top 10 megabases in the entire country. We're talking top 10 out of tens of thousands of survivor factions. And all of it was built on basic rice and flour. That's the absolute power of food when civilization collapses. And guess what? I knew the exact coordinates of that gold mine. 3 days left. It's time to go claim my jackpot. 31 hours remain. I lay in my ultra-luxurious new bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, running the calculations in my head one last time. 8 world-class cuisines, tens of thousands of gourmet meals, 300,000 pounds of meat, tons of fresh vegetables, 200 million cubic meters of water, medical supplies, heavy machinery, high-end computers, tactical phones, and enough clothes to jumpstart a whole new civilization. But sleep was completely out of the question. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw bloodthirsty zombie hordes screaming for flesh, the absolute greatest hits of my worst nightmares. So, at 11:30 p.m., I finally geared up and drove over to Xiao Mei's workshop to claim my ride. She was chilling on the front steps, mindlessly scrolling through her phone, just waiting for me. She looked up and smirked. Picking up this late, huh? The marauder sat parked under the harsh shop lights, looking like a sleeping, mechanical predator. She'd topped off the tank, perfectly calibrated the military-grade solar panels, and, of course, thrown a custom mattress onto the fold-out bed in the back. 2 meters by 1.5. You know exactly what that's for. She gave me a suggestive wink. I didn't even bother to dignify that with a response. I climbed into the cabin and gripped the massive steering wheel. Felt heavy, serious, and absolutely built for war. I shifted it into gear. Clack. The monstrous diesel engine roared to life with a deep, menacing growl that vibrated straight through my chest. This wasn't just a vehicle anymore. This was a beast. I rolled out onto the pitch-black, empty streets at 2 a.m. I blew right through a red light because, honestly, who's brave enough to ticket a literal armored military beast? From up in this cockpit, regular cars looked like cheap plastic toys. I slammed the pedal to the metal and hit 75 in a heartbeat. In my previous life, I was stuck driving a rusted-out pickup with zero AC, and a steering wheel that shook violently like it was possessed by a demon. Zombies hot on my trail, the engine leaking fluid everywhere, just desperately praying the tires wouldn't blow. Now, I gently patted the dashboard. This absolute monster of a truck could eat my old pickup for breakfast. Mid-drive, my heart suddenly seized up. It wasn't a heart attack. It was something way deeper. A straight-up warning flare from my spatial power fruit itself. This freezing dread began clawing up from my soul, like absolute ice water pumping through my veins. 2 words instantly crystallized in my mind. Natural enemy. I white-knuckled the steering wheel. Back in my past life, there were whispers about this. Top-tier power fruits have built-in absolute rivalries. Fire versus water, light versus dark. The stronger the ability, the more violent the repulsion. Like they say, 2 apex predators can't share one mountain. My SSS rank spatial fruit was screaming that somewhere nearby, its absolute sworn nemesis had just spawned. But what on earth could be the natural enemy of space itself? What kind of broken power is fundamentally hostile to spatial control? I had no clue, but I could feel the exact direction, pulling like a compass needle pointing straight toward danger. I slammed my foot on the gas. The Mercedes roared to life, tearing a sharp turn toward downtown, straight toward the infamous Golden Crown nightclub. Because of freaking course it would be the Golden Crown. I drifted to a halt right near the entrance. The venue was absolutely packed under blinding neon lights. Fleets of rich snobs, girls dolled up in high-end designer dresses, and guys flexing luxury watches. The usual high society predator parade. And right there, standing amidst the chaos, like a stunning white swan surrounded by noisy peacocks, was Ryan. She was wearing a breathtaking teal evening gown, her hair pinned up with sparkling diamond earrings, looking utterly drop-dead gorgeous, and completely terrified. Lu Fei was standing right next to her, fidgeting like a nervous wreck. The absolute coward hadn't brought her here for a date. She was an offering. Xiao Tianhao's massive VIP party was tonight. That spoiled Beijing prince had spotted her at the restaurant. And whatever Xiao Tianhao locks his eyes on, Xiao Tianhao takes by force. Lu Fei didn't have the backbone to tell him no. So, like a total loser, he was hand-delivering the woman he wanted to the man he feared most. Even the general manager of the Golden Crown, a powerful Japanese man named Fan Jinichiro, was standing outside waiting like a glorified butler, eager to play nice with whoever was about to roll up. A guy who usually ruled this place like a king, reduced to a mere doorman. Suddenly, that enemy signal pulsed even harder. Whatever threat was setting off my spatial fruit's alarm system was lurking inside this very building tonight. Only 29 hours left until the apocalypse. And just like that, I'd driven my armored war machine straight into a total hornet's nest. Honestly, the smart play here was to back up, pull away, and just let the meteor strike first. Let the zombies do the cleanup for me. But that cold, pulsing energy in my chest kept whispering, "Kill this threat now, or it'll hunt you down later." So I killed the engine and melted into the shadows, keeping my eyes locked on the Golden Crown's entrance. Something was hiding in there. Something powerful enough to pose a literal cosmic threat to me. And I had to find out what it was. I parked my beast of a truck in the dark alley across the street, and watched the absolute circus unfold. That freezing pulse in my chest was getting louder by the second. Whatever my spatial fruit was screaming about, it was arriving right here, tonight. At first, it was just your typical rich people drama. Lu Fei had brought Ryan along. as a literal trophy gift for Xiao Tianhao's party, parading her around in this stunning teal gown, like she was wrapped up in fancy gift paper. She stood there looking absolutely gorgeous, yet completely petrified, probably plotting in her head how to flip this absolute nightmare into a major win. I had to hand it to her, the girl's survival instinct was top tier. Suddenly, a massive fleet of exotic supercars rolled up. Ferraris, Lambos, McLarens, the works, all led by a menacing, pitch-black Hongqi state limo, rocking elite Beijing plates. That license plate is basically a golden ticket of diplomatic immunity. The big boss, Zhao Tianhao, had officially arrived. Lu Fei instantly fixed his suit like a loyal, obedient dog, and hurried over to greet the convoy. But right then, the Golden Crown's manager, Fan Jinny, received a sudden phone call. Whatever the person on the other end said made his face go instantly pale. He immediately began screaming into his radio, "Clear the entrance right now. Lock it down. No cars allowed in. The divine woman is arriving in 10 minutes. Because when she shows up, everything else comes to a halt." A human wall of massive, black-suited bodyguards materialized, and completely blocked off the entire street. Lu Fei's convoy was forced to grind to a halt. Even Zhao Tianhao's VIP Beijing-plated limo was stopped dead in its tracks. No exceptions. Lu Fei's face turned bright purple with pure rage. He aggressively grabbed Fan Jinny by his collar, roaring, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" But Fan Jinny just brushed him off with some cheap excuse about a random safety check. Luffy was highly skeptical, but he had absolutely zero leverage here. He immediately scrambled over to Zhao Tianhao's car window. He bowed so low he was practically kissing the asphalt. As he frantically explained the delay, the tinted window cracked open a single inch. Just dead silence from the inside before it rolled right back up. Luffy just stood there frozen, drenched in a cold sweat. Meanwhile, the spoiled rich kids from the supercar convoy gathered around. They were visibly pissed and confused, yet not a single soul dared to leave, because Zhou Tianhao hadn't given them the green light. 10 agonizing minutes dragged by, and then a commanding figure finally stepped out of the Golden Crown's front doors. It was a man clad in a traditional kimono and wooden sandals. Dude looked about 50 and stood as rigid as a statue. He was staring intensely down the street, like he was eagerly anticipating royalty. And honestly, he kind of was. Meet Danji, the exact guy whose vault I had completely cleaned out. The most elusive and terrifying power broker in all of Hanzhou. And the literal man who had been hunting my head for the past 2 weeks. Seeing him, the rich kids instantly relaxed, thinking, "Oh, he's personally coming out to welcome Xiao Tianhao. Just look at how much crazy respect this Beijing prince commands." But boy, were they dead wrong. An entirely new convoy suddenly materialized at the end of the block. We're talking Rolls-Royces, and not just one. An entire fleet of them. And spearheading the whole formation was a Rolls-Royce white crane. The absolute peak of ultra-exclusive custom engineering. A true one-of-one masterpiece on the planet. With a staggering price tag clearing over 1 billion yuan. The hypercar didn't even tap the brakes. It cruised straight toward the main entrance, like it owned the entire block. Which made sense because whoever was sitting inside probably did own the entire building. No freaking way. Danji and his massive security detail rushed forward like hyped-up puppies. They literally began shoving Lu Fei's crew out of the way to clear a path. The rich kids instantly lost their minds. What the hell? They are literally blocking us just to roll out the red carpet for them? Do these fools even know who's riding in that Hongqi? But Luffy wasn't riding that wave of anger anymore. He was completely paralyzed with fear because a terrifying truth just hit him. Whoever was riding in that Rolls-Royce vastly outranked Xiao Tianhao. And if Xiao Tianhao felt slighted or disrespected by being forced to wait out here, the entire blame would fall directly on Luffy. As the Hanzhou host and the guy who put this whole event together, his family's entire legacy could be utterly wiped out for this one mistake. Luffy darted his eyes back and forth from the Hongqi, right back to the incoming Rolls-Royce. He made his choice, diving straight into his Porsche, white-knuckling the vibrating steering wheel, and slammed the gas, aiming directly at the white crane. A billion-yuan Rolls-Royce versus a regular Porsche, driven by a man with absolutely nothing left to lose. His ride was going to crumple like cheap tinfoil, and he might not even survive the impact. But if he didn't prove to Zhao Tianhao that he was ready to throw down his life for him, his entire family was finished anyway. Ear-splitting screams erupted instantly. Women in high heels scattered like startled birds, while guys literally dove out of the way for their lives. And there I was, chilling in my armored truck, taking it all in, as that icy, thumping sensation in my chest pounded harder and harder. Whatever was lurking inside that white crane Rolls-Royce, whatever divine woman Yi Wudao was bowing to, that was exactly what my spatial fruit was warning me about. My ultimate natural enemy had just arrived. Just 29 hours left until the apocalypse. And this entire chessboard just got a whole lot more complicated. From my truck parked right across the street, I watched Lu Fei pull off the absolute dumbest, most insanely ballsy stunt I've ever witnessed. His Porsche launched forward like a heat-seeking missile, smashing directly into the side of that billion-yuan white crane. Boom! The airbags instantly exploded right in his face. The massive Rolls-Royce actually skidded half a meter sideways, its tires screeching violently against the pavement. Meanwhile, the Porsche crumpled like a cheap soda can. Lu Fei dragged himself out, blood dripping down his forehead, shaking like an absolute leaf, and desperately looked back at Zhao Tianhao's Hongqi. The tinted window rolled down barely half an inch, and a hand popped out, giving a quick thumbs up. Then the window zipped right back up. The Hongqi smoothly turned and melted away into the night. Zhao Tianhao was fully satisfied. His honor had been defended, so he just left Lu Fei behind to deal with the brutal aftermath. A classic cold-hearted move. From a guy who treats everyone like mere pawns on a board. Yi Wudao completely lost his mind. That ride belonged to his precious divine woman. Seeing it dented right in front of his own nightclub was the ultimate disrespect, like spitting on his emperor's portrait. The empire's pride, the divine woman's sacred honor, completely trampled by these pigs. He screamed at his bodyguards. Wipe them all out. Anyone who dares disrespect the goddess pays with their life. But these weren't your average club bouncers. These guys were ex-Japanese special forces. They tore through that crowd of rich brats like a tsunami, demolishing them like sandcastles with single strikes. These trust fund babies had bodies completely wrecked from years of non-stop partying. They were dropping like absolute bowling pins. Not the face. I'm sorry. I'll pay you. Cue the pathetic screaming, desperate begging, bones snapping. Gold watches and hypebeast designer shoes were left scattered all over the pavement. Girls in cocktail dresses stampeded for the exits, while the club staff cowered behind pillars. Meanwhile, Ruin just stood there completely frozen, shaking in her expensive gown as she watched the high society world she thought she knew utterly crumble around her. Then the white crane's door popped open. A sleek red stiletto stepped out. Everyone strained their necks to catch a glimpse of the goddess, but the door immediately slammed shut again. The engine revved, and that battered Rolls-Royce began to speed away. Right then, that icy pulse in my chest went completely nuclear. She was in that car, my ultimate natural enemy. The exact entity my spatial fruit feared on a molecular level. And she was about to escape. Yeah, not happening. I floored the accelerator. My Mengsher truck roared to life, unleashing 700 horsepower of diesel fury, launching 5 tons of pure armored steel, straight toward their convoy. Xiaomi's warnings echoed in my head. If this goes head-on with a dump truck, the dump truck is the one crying. Honestly, this beast's only real opponent was a tank. Ineo definitely didn't see me coming. His eyes went wide as dinner plates. Stop him. Block that truck. But nobody moved. You don't just step in front of a charging rhino. Suddenly, 3 Rolls-Royce Phantoms lurched forward to shield the white crane. 3-ton luxury sedans trying to form a makeshift barricade. Goo! Boom! The first Phantom got launched into the air like a literal toy, flipping twice before violently crashing by the roadside. Boom! Boom! The second and third got the exact same treatment. My Mengsher didn't even tap the brakes. 3-ton Rolls-Royces bounced straight off my titanium ram bars, like they were nothing but cheap shopping carts. The guy looked like he was watching his entire reality crumble. If this divine woman got a single scratch on his watch, his entire bloodline would be utterly erased. Not fired, straight up deleted from existence. Names wiped, parents sent into exile, and kids completely disowned. A fate way worse than death. And now that white crane was dead ahead. 10 meters, 5, 3, I could literally see the dent that Lu Fei's Porsche had left behind. Just one more split second, and my beast of a truck was going to turn that billion-yuan ride into modern art. But then the entire world froze. Not slowed down, dead stop. The deafening roar of the engine just vanished. The screaming stopped, the rich kids crying cut out, and even the howling wind died. Just absolute, pin-drop silence. It was like someone literally hit mute on the entire universe. My truck was still technically rolling forward, but everything around me had gone completely, terrifyingly still. Whatever was sitting in that car, it had just pulled off the absolute impossible. We've got 29 hours left until the apocalypse, and I just ran into something way more terrifying than zombies. Time had frozen, and I mean that completely literally. My hands wouldn't budge, my feet were completely locked, and the steering wheel felt like a solid stone statue. Heck, even my own heartbeat felt like it had flatlined. The only things I could actually move were my eyes, and all they could do was watch that white crane effortlessly turn right around and glide away. I desperately tried to trigger my powers, but fire was locked out, and teleportation was completely offline. My spatial dimension ability had gone into full emergency shutdown, like a turtle retreating straight back into its shell. Whoever was inside that car had completely suppressed my SSS rank abilities just by simply driving past me. The sheer gravity of this hit me like a runaway freight train. In my previous life, there were always rumors about these people. The divine descendants. Legendary beings who possessed insane powers. Long before the apocalypse even kicked off. Pre-awakened. If this divine chick was really one of them, but then boom, time snapped right back. My truck violently lurched forward, slamming into empty air. The white crane was already 50 meters down the road, smoothly cruising down the highway. There was no way I was catching them on a straightaway. My armored beast of a truck could easily bulldoze a Rolls-Royce, but there was absolutely no way it was outrunning one. I sat on the flat pavement, gripping the steering wheel tight, my hands shaking, not out of fear, but from absolute shock. I had just encountered something that could shut me down, like a literal light switch, but I filed that under problems for later, and locked eyes on what was directly ahead. Complete and utter chaos. Smashed-up Rolls-Royces were scattered like broken toys. Spoiled rich kids lay bleeding on the asphalt, and the bodyguards were totally clueless. Meanwhile, Ryan stood there, soaking wet and absolutely furious. I parked the massive truck and stepped out. The second Ryan saw me, her brain cycled through about 6 different emotions. In a span of 2 seconds. Pure shock, utter confusion, and flat-out denial. He definitely stole that truck. Then a tiny spark of excitement she'd never admit to, before reverting right back to pure contempt. He probably came to rescue me. How pathetic. I belong to Lu Fei's now. This absolute loser means nothing to me. Goo. Honestly, it was adorable. She was literally standing in a war zone, dressed up like a trophy for a man who had completely abandoned her, surrounded by bleeding rich brats, and she still genuinely believed. She was holding all the cards. Then Ryan spotted me and went completely ballistic. That's the bastard who almost hit the divine woman's car. Kill him. Instantly, 8 Japanese Special Forces bodyguards rushed me. The first guy threw a wild haymaker straight at my face. I easily sidestepped and drove a knee right into his gut. He dropped like a sack of bricks, puking his guts out on the pavement. A second guy blindsided me with a tactical baton, but without even looking, I threw a brutal elbow. His jaw dislocated with a sickening crack, sending him flying 2 meters back. The third, the fourth, and the fifth, I tore through them like an absolute machine. Sidekick, knee strike, elbow, chokehold. No flashy anime moves here, just 3 years of hardcore zombie apocalypse. Close quarters survival instincts, unleashed on regular humans who might as well have been standing completely still. In comparison, it took a mere 10 seconds. 8 bodies were now lay out on the ground, groaning in agony, clutching their shattered bones, or completely knocked out cold. I casually dusted off my hands. The remaining bodyguards scrambled backward in terror. Absolutely nobody wanted to be number 9. Then there's Lu Fei, forehead bleeding, suit completely shredded. The dude just crashed his Porsche, like a straight-up kamikaze pilot. But after watching me single-handedly wipe out 8 Special Forces soldiers, he gets this brilliant idea. He struts right on over, points at the Japanese boss and starts barking, "Yeah, that's what you get, you Japanese bastard. I'm going to tear your whole club down." Then he turns to me, with the ultimate condescension of a spoiled brat who thinks the entire world is on his payroll. "Hey you, whose bodyguard are you? Decent job. Now go hold that Japanese punk down, so I can personally slap him." I stared at his face, this exact face from my past life. The same face that ambushed and robbed me outside the survivor base, stole my power crystals, and mocked me right in front of Ruyan. A simp like you actually thinks he can compete with me? I didn't say a single word. I just walked up and backhanded him. Smack. He staggered back. What the F, smack?
I'm Lu Fei.
Do you even know who? Smack. 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 Left, right. Pure, unadulterated power. Every single hit carrying a lifetime of payback. His face swelled up instantly like a balloon at a birthday party. Blood spraying from his mouth. His eyes spinning. That's when Ruyan threw herself between us. Arms spread wide, shielding Lu Fei, like he was the absolute last lifeboat on the Titanic. Li Chang'e, enough. This is Lu Fei. Do you have any idea who his family is? Don't think driving some stolen truck here and pretending to play the hero actually means anything. We are never, ever getting back together. You're nothing, just a filthy toad dreaming of swan meat. I just stared at her, this gorgeous, delusional, absolute train wreck of a woman, standing there in a ripped gown, fiercely defending a guy who literally brought her here to be used as a human sacrifice, screaming at the top of her lungs at the only person who actually risked his life to save her tonight, all while genuinely believing I was doing this to win her back. I laughed, a real, genuine, soul-cleansing laugh. Behind her, Lu Fei cowered, his eyes filled with pure venom and zero gratitude. She was acting as his meat shield, and he didn't give a damn. Seriously, a match made in heaven. And then, with perfect timing as always, suddenly, police sirens tore through the night. A dozen squad cars came drifting around the corner, screeching to a halt. With lights blindingly bright, cops poured out like a full-scale SWAT raid. Then, the door of a black SUV swung open, and a single leg in a crisp police uniform stepped out. It was none other than Jo Bai-won, aka the legendary Lady Reaper. With her sharp, short hair and razor-focused eyes, she instantly locked onto the chaotic battlefield. The second she appeared, every single rich kid on the ground shut their mouths. At least the ones who were still conscious. They literally tried to blend into the asphalt. There are only 29 hours left until doomsday, and my schedule for tonight is already a complete disaster. Officer Jo Bai-won strode into that war zone, looking as lethal as a freshly unsheathed blade. Her uniform didn't have a single wrinkle, and her heavy boots hit the pavement with pure, unadulterated authority. She's the kind of alpha female who forces chaos to fall in line. Out of sheer, terrifying respect, the rich kids took one look at her, and instantly accepted their grim fate. Oh hell no. It's the Lady Reaper. Why on earth is she here? We are dead. Absolutely cooked. Mind you, these are the exact same trust fund babies who, 5 minutes ago, were sobbing on the concrete, after getting absolute smoke blown at them by Japanese bodyguards. But Jo Bai-won? She terrified them way more than any elite special forces unit ever could. That's just the weight her name carries. Scanning the wreckage, she took note of the groaning bodyguards, smashed up Rolls Royces, and bleeding elite heirs. Then, she barked out a single, cold order. Cuff them all. Drag them to the precinct. Now. But right then Inoue stepped forward, arrogantly puffing out his chest. Listen here, officer. I am a citizen of Japan. You don't have the legal jurisdiction to. Before he could even finish, she kicked him dead in the chest. The dude literally flew through the air and slammed flat on his back, his fancy kimono flying wide open, and whatever pride he had left scattering across the asphalt. She firmly planted her heavy boot right on his chest, staring down at him like he was a nasty piece of gum stuck to her soul. A Japanese citizen acting tough on Chinese soil, beating up our people? Who gave you the audacity? Seeing this, the rich kids, who were whimpering like kicked puppies moments before, suddenly found a massive surge of patriotism. Yeah, teach him a lesson. Show these clowns exactly whose country they're messing with. One kid with a completely broken arm was enthusiastically flashing a thumbs up with his good hand, while another, bleeding heavily from his mouth, was just grinning like a total idiot. 5 minutes ago they were crying like babies. Now, suddenly they're fearless patriots. It's crazy what a badge can do to hype up a crowd. But with just one word, Ju Hai-won shut them up. They silenced instantly. That's when a rookie officer marched up to me. Hands on your head. On the ground now. I just leaned back against my car, flashing him a smirk. Come on, officer. I'm just an innocent bystander here. Those Japanese thugs jumped me. I was just defending myself. We'll settle that at the station.
Yeah, no.
The literal apocalypse starts tomorrow. There is no way I'm spending my last 29 hours of civilization rotting in a holding cell. As he lunged to grab me, I casually sidestepped, leaving him clutching empty air. Ju Hai-won noticed the commotion and stormed right over, instant recognition flashing in her eyes. Well, if it isn't Officer Ju. Long time no see. You look even more stunning tonight. Her gaze went ice cold. Cut the crap. Hands behind your head, on your knees. I really can't do the police station routine. I've got a super busy schedule tomorrow. And what's more important than complying with the law? I paused, looking her dead in the eye, and said with total sincerity, preventing the end of the world. She stared at me, then let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Fine, I'll drag you in myself. She reached for my wrist, but I instantly reversed her grip. She countered with a vicious knee strike, which I cleanly dodged. 3 lethal trades in under 2 seconds. She was lightning fast, pure, textbook military martial arts. Precise, deadly, and exactly what you'd expect from the police academy's top graduate. An undefeated prodigy who had never lost a fight. Too bad for her. I just spent 3 brutal years fighting mutant zombies, capable of tearing cars in half. To me, her academy-grade moves felt like a slow-motion tutorial, compared to the hell I survived. She threw a straight punch. I slipped it effortlessly, sweeping low at her legs. She jumped to avoid it, but while she was still midair, I closed the gap, snatched her wrist, and twisted her arm into a flawless lock behind her back. Just like that, she was completely locked down. The legendary Lady Reaper, utterly immobilized, unable to even budge. The entire street went dead silent. Every single rich kid's jaw hit the concrete. Even Ju Hai-won herself was stunned. This is the legendary woman who literally pulverized a Beijing prince, now completely pinned by some random dude rocking a basic white tee. She thrashed against my grip, but my stats were just too overpowered. Furious didn't even cover it. She looked utterly dumbfounded. Absolutely nobody had ever dared to manhandle her like this. Leaning right into her ear, I dropped a quiet whisper. Officer Joe, I swear I was just here for the front row entertainment. So how about you let me slide? I flashed a cheeky grin. Honestly, I couldn't resist pushing her buttons. You're actually gorgeous, you know? So when the world officially ends in 2 days, what's your move? What kind of absolute nonsense are you talking about? I'm saying, if you play your cards right when the sky falls, I just might bless you with a single pack of instant noodles. Dead silence. Her entire brain completely short-circuited. As the words sank in, reality hit her like a truck. She realized that she, the elite daughter of the provincial police chief, the absolute nightmare of the entire Hongju underworld, and the one powerhouse even Beijing feared to cross, had just had her entire worth appraised at one single pack of cheap ramen. Lee Chong-ji, her blood-curdling shriek literally shook the entire neighborhood. I instantly released her and took a smooth step back. She whipped around, completely ready to erase me from existence, but 3 desperate officers immediately tackled her back. Captain, please stand down. You literally cannot beat this guy. One rookie cop frantically whispered it right into her ear, and without a doubt, he was the bravest man alive on that street tonight. She stood there, vibrating with pure, unadulterated rage. Her hair totally wrecked, her face flushed crimson, radiating an aura of absolute murder. As for me, I was already casually strolling back to my lawn chair, smirking like a total menace. 1 pack of noodles. In exactly 29 hours, she was going to understand the brutal weight behind that punchline. Because once the apocalypse officially drops, a single holy pack of instant ramen is going to be worth infinitely more than her shiny badge, her prestigious title, and her father's entire golden career combined. But right now, I had just motivated the most terrifying woman in Hangzhou to make my termination her life's mission. Add it to the tally. Jo Bai-won was absolutely not done with me yet. Not by a long shot. She launched another strike with terrifying speed. A vicious, calculated blow aimed straight for my jawline. I cleanly slipped the punch, sighing internally. This chick possessed the stubborn, unyielding grit of a bulldog, fused directly with a literal nuclear reactor. She just kept pressing forward, unleashing a relentless torrent of fists, lethal elbows and savage knees. She went full berserker mode, throwing all technique straight out the window. It was nothing but pure, unadulterated, rage-fueled aggression. Her squad desperately wanted to back her up, but getting too close meant catching a stray elbow to the face. Taking advantage of the chaos, I caught her off guard once more, and locked her in a tight rear restraint. Immediately, the officers surrounded us, the tension instantly redlining. She was thrashing around like a cornered, savage wildcat, her eyes burning with sheer fury as she bit her lip bloody. I was just about to open my mouth, probably to spit out some incredibly stupid line, when suddenly, the entire atmosphere shifted. The air turned suffocatingly heavy, as if the gravity of the world itself was crushing down on us. It was a suffocating pressure you could practically taste. And then the dogs began to howl. Literally every single dog in the entire city, in perfect, chilling unison. They were shrieking into the dead of night, as if their primal instincts knew exactly what was coming. But then came the wolves, in the dead center of Hongju. Like, where the hell do wolves even come from around here? I snapped, "Jo Byung, look up! Stop struggling!" And just like that, everyone froze in their tracks. The sky was bleeding a deep, unnatural red. Not some pretty sunset. A completely wrong, ominous crimson, with the clouds churning violently. They were twisting and morphing into a colossal, swirling vortex, as if the heavens themselves were being stirred by a divine, terrifying hand. Then, a blinding light absolutely shattered the darkness. A massive, blazing meteor came tearing through, so colossal that you could easily make out its terrifying structure with the naked eye. It looked like a burning eye of absolute death, dragging a massive tail of roaring fire right across the entire sky, as it plummeted straight toward the horizon. Instantly, my blood ran ice cold. I knew this exact sight. I had witnessed this horrific moment in my very first life. But the timing was completely wrong. I was supposed to have 28 hours left. The math, the timeline, the specific dates, literally everything I had meticulously planned around, was dead wrong. It was early. An entire 28 hours early. The sky ignited in an apocalyptic wash of orange and red, as the meteor finally plunged past the edge of the world, heading straight for the Pacific Ocean. And then the ground beneath us moved. This wasn't just some minor tremor or a simple shake. The earth literally screamed. It was the kind of apocalyptic earthquake that doesn't just knock over a few shelves. It completely rips civilization apart at the seams. Instantly, car alarms began detonating across the city, in a deafening, chaotic symphony of absolute panic. In the distance, a low rumble echoed, but that was no thunder. Massive high-rises were collapsing and steel bridges were snapping like twigs. The entire city groaned like a dying beast. Suddenly, every single phone on the street blew up at the exact same time. It was a terrifying, flashing notification. Red alert. Massive meteorite impact detected in the Pacific Ocean. A mega tsunami and catastrophic chain earthquakes have been triggered. Estimated coastal impact time, just 3 hours. All residents must evacuate to high ground immediately. But it got worse. The news feed below the alert looked like a real-time horror movie. The Pacific Ring of Fire was waking up. Full volcanic eruptions were tearing through the Japanese mainland. A monstrous magnitude 9.8 earthquake just hit, and Hawaii was completely swallowed by a tsunami. Over on the U.S. West Coast, a total state of emergency. Every single headline was pure, unadulterated chaos. Officer Jo just stood there, clutching her phone, paralyzed. The color completely drained from her face. In an instant, she forgot she was even mad at me. She forgot I even existed. She forgot absolutely everything except the apocalyptic text on her screen. This can't be real. I finally let go of her, and she stumbled forward, completely dazed. She whipped around and locked eyes with me. And here's the crazy part. Everyone around us was losing their absolute minds. Spoiled rich kids were screaming and running for their lives. The other cops were just frozen, staring blankly at their phones. Ryan was literally curled up on the pavement, sobbing like a baby. Lu Fei was clutching his bleeding, swollen head, cursing up a storm, and without wasting a second, he retreated straight into his building, flanked by his bodyguards. But me, I was dead calm, not because I'm some fearless hero, but because I had already lived through this nightmare once before, because I had spent the last 15 exhausting days preparing for this exact cosmic endgame. Because right now, my pocket dimension was packed with enough food, fresh water, and medical supplies to keep 100,000 people alive for 50 whole years. I looked up at that bleeding, burning sky, and this wave of complicated emotions hit me. It felt like locking eyes with an old, deadly enemy you'd been expecting all along. "Officer Jo," I muttered. My voice was steady as stone. The end of the world is finally here. She just gawked at me, her mouth hanging wide open. Completely speechless. I turned my back, climbed into my armored Mengsher SUV, and cranked the heavy engine to life. She scrambled over to my side, frantically pounding on the glass. Lee Changha, where the hell do you think you're going? The government order says everyone needs to get to the nearest fallout shelter right now. I looked at her one last time through the tinted window. Goodbye, Officer Joe. I told you 1 pack of ramen in exchange for your life. That offer is still on the table. Her hand froze midair. I always keep my word. With that, I slammed the gas, and my armored beast roared into the night, plowing straight through the panicking crowds, into a crumbling city, and into a world that was literally ending, a whopping 28 hours ahead of schedule. Glancing in my rearview mirror, I saw Officer Ju standing dead center in the street, bathed in the eerie glow of the blood-red sky, watching me fade into the distance. She had no idea, but that single pack of ramen, in about 3 hours, it would be worth way more than everything she had ever owned. The apocalypse had officially arrived, and I was easily the most prepared man on Earth. Officer Ju didn't waste a single second being confused. She snapped instantly back into elite cop mode, barking orders at her completely frozen officers. Evacuate everyone. Find the nearest underground shelter. Move now. Meanwhile, I was white-knuckling my steering wheel, as the entire world literally tore itself apart. The ground was bucking like a mechanical bull, cranked up to max speed. My 5-ton armored truck, the monster vehicle that literally ate Rolls-Royces for breakfast, was getting bounced around, like a helpless rubber duck in a washing machine. Right in front of me, a 30-story skyscraper just folded, snapping clean in half like a cheap breadstick. The top half tilted wildly, hanging in midair for one heart-stopping second, before crashing down, sending a massive mushroom cloud of debris, shooting 50 meters into the sky. I could see people in the windows, frantically waving, falling, and screaming in absolute terror, before the suffocating dust swallowed them whole. The roads were splitting open like ripped zipper seams, asphalt peeling back to expose shattered pipes underneath. Massive bridges collapsed in the distance, steel and concrete tumbling into the rivers like cheap toys. The entire city was dying. Suddenly, a massive crevice tore open right across my path. I slammed on the brakes, and my massive truck skidded, stopping just inches from the edge of a bottomless abyss. There was no way through. My brain instantly kicked into overdrive. I needed a building strong enough to survive what was coming next, and I knew the absolute perfect spot, the Hongju National Trade Building. 30 stories tall. In my past life, it was one of the very few structures left standing. In the wake of the devastating earthquake and tsunami, this place ended up becoming the ultimate survivor stronghold. In the entire city, a literal concrete fortress. I yanked the wheel, sending the heavy beast into a wild drift. Yeah, you heard me, I actually drifted. A massive 5-ton military truck. And honestly, felt every bit as badass as it sounds. I lined up my sights right on the trade building, but a massive collapsed wall was blocking my path. So I just slammed on the gas. The truck plowed right through like the wall was made of wet cardboard. Heavy bricks bounced off the armor plating like pieces of popcorn. Suddenly, a massive sinkhole opened up, and I swerved hard. For one heart-stopping second, half the truck was literally dangling over the empty abyss. But then the tires finally bit into the pavement and we tore right through. Just when I thought I was clear, huge boulders, absolute giant rocks that had tumbled down from the nearby hillside, weighing several tons each, blocked the way. Even my armored beast wasn't ramming through this mess. I leaped out of the cab, stood right in front of the massive rock pile, and channeled my inner flame. A searing fireball began to manifest in my hand. And I'm not talking about some weak little spark, either. This was pure, highly compressed, concentrated fury, shifting violently from red to orange, then blinding white, before turning almost completely translucent. The sheer intensity of the heat was literally warping the air around my hand. I locked my gaze onto the boulders and let it rip. The fireball shrieked across 30 meters and detonated with absolute fury. Boom! The massive rocks instantly disintegrated into tiny pebbles, leaving a crater the size of a swimming pool. Right in the middle of the debris, a massive plume of dust shot 50 meters into the air. Without wasting a second, I dove back into my truck, slammed the pedal down, and sped right through the gap. As I burst through the smoke, there it stood, just 300 meters away, the Hongju National Trade Building. I parked and instantly stored the entire truck in my inventory space. I mean, obviously, you can't just leave a heavy armored vehicle sitting out in the open right before a massive tsunami hits. Looking around, the place was practically a ghost town. Everyone had panicked and fled from the tall buildings, heading straight for open ground, which meant they were all dead meat. Because once the shaking stops, the real nightmare begins. The wave. Right on cue, my phone buzzed with an urgent national disaster alert. Extinction level tsunami incoming in 90 minutes. Initial wave height is projected to exceed 1,000 meters. All residents must evacuate to high ground immediately. Repeat. The wave height exceeds 1,000 meters. A staggering 1,000 meters tall. Even by the time it slammed into an inland city like Hangzhou, that monstrous wave would still be towering 80 meters high. Our only hope was the trade building, standing at 90 meters. Just barely enough to survive. As for the poor souls flooding the open plazas and parks, they were about to be swallowed whole. I bolted straight into the building. The lobby was completely trashed. The massive chandelier shattered on the floor. The solid marble walls were cracked to pieces, and the heavy elevator doors were twisted like cheap tinfoil. In the stairwell, emergency lights flickered with a ghostly, pale white glow. Then, a sound echoed from outside, and it definitely wasn't thunder. It was a deep, rhythmic, terrifying boom, like the heartbeat of some colossal, unimaginable beast. It was the sound of a literal wall of ocean, compressing the very air as it surged toward the coast. Death was beating its war drum, and I started sprinting up the stairs. 30 grueling floors stood between me and survival. The clock was ticking fast. Only this time it wasn't counting down to the apocalypse. The apocalypse was already here. Now it was a countdown to the wave. I conquered 28 floors on pure adrenaline and sheer willpower. Even with superhuman stats buffing my body, my thighs were absolutely screaming by floor 20. I burst through the heavy fire door and cast a glance out the hallway window. Hongju was gone. Not just damaged, not just ruined, completely wiped off the map. Massive skyscrapers had snapped in half like dry chopsticks, their top halves collapsing onto neighboring towers. Raging fires danced amidst the wreckage, and thick smoke blended with the crimson sky, creating a scene straight out of the depths of hell. And out there, where the ocean used to be, a razor-thin white line stretched across the entire horizon. It was creeping closer, the devastating edge of the tsunami, devouring every single thing in its path. I forced myself to look away. No time to waste. The 28th floor was pitch black. The emergency power was fading, barely bright enough to see my own steps. I crept forward. In this wasteland, making noise is an instant death sentence. Suddenly, I froze. It was too quiet. Not the peaceful silence of an empty building, but the heavy, suffocating silence of someone hiding. Someone desperately holding their breath, trying to silence their own racing heartbeat. I warily scanned the ruined offices, passing shattered glass, flipped over desks, and smashed computers littering the floor. A single door stood open, revealing a shadow in the deepest corner. I crept closer, staying completely silent. A brass plaque caught my eye. Chinese Academy of Building Sciences, East China Branch. Hold up, I've definitely seen that name before. Right back in the records room. Inside, a woman was curled up against the wall, barricaded behind a massive fortress of thick architecture textbooks. They were placed perfectly to shield her head and chest.
A textbook pro survival posture.
This wasn't just some random person panicking. She clearly understood structural protection. She wore a light blue shirt under a white lab coat, a low ponytail and slightly crooked glasses. But clamped in her trembling right hand was an architectural utility knife, the lethal kind used for precision drawing. Razor thin and brutally sharp. She was absolutely terrified, but that blade was locked onto me. We locked eyes for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a full 2 minutes of pure, silent standoff. Then, gurgle, the most aggressive stomach growl I've ever heard. In the dead silence of this collapsing apocalyptic world, her stomach literally announced itself like a foghorn. Her face went completely crimson, and I couldn't help it. I just laughed. Hungry. The knife drooped a bit. Not out of trust, but from sheer, agonizing embarrassment. Keeping my distance, I reached into my bag, pulled a pack of compressed survival biscuits, straight from my spatial storage, and tossed them to her feet. She stared down at the package, glanced back up at me and didn't budge. Eat up, I told her. Then show me a safe zone. You work here, right? You know this layout. The earthquake is over. But a mega tsunami is coming. Where's the safest spot? Her eyes widened. How could you possibly know a tsunami is coming? Saw it myself. Now, how'd you get up here? Took the stairs. And why do you just have survival rations in your bag? Man, you ask a ton of questions. She fell silent, studying me intently for a long moment. Finally, she lowered the knife, grabbed the biscuits and took a desperate bite. She chewed slowly, letting the food dissolve. Turns out, she'd been pulling overtime since last night, starving for over 15 straight hours. But after just 3 bites, her pro instincts completely took over. Floor 28, dead center. There's a custom partition room I literally designed myself. She pushed up her glasses, a habit she clearly couldn't break, even with the literal apocalypse outside. It's built directly on the building's main, load-bearing axis. All 4 walls are reinforced concrete shear walls, with top-tier, heavy-duty waterproofing. Completely sealed. If that mega tsunami actually hits, that room is the safest damn spot in this entire skyscraper. I just stared at her. This woman had just wolfed down 3 tiny bites of a biscuit, and without missing a beat, dived straight into a full-blown structural engineering lecture. Right as civilization was crumbling, covered in drywall dust, with a box cutter chilling at her feet. What's your name? I asked. She paused for a second. Lin Wei. Suddenly, a spark went off in my brain. I definitely heard that name before. But where? 3 brutal years in this wasteland, hearing thousands of names, most of them belonging to people who were already long dead. I couldn't quite place it.
Li Shangzhe.
I offered. She just nodded, standing up on absolute jello legs, bracing herself hard against the wall. Then, she carefully tucked the half-eaten pack of biscuits right into her lab coat pocket, right next to her perfectly organized array of red, blue and black pens. Talk about priorities, structural blueprints and survival snacks. Yep, she's definitely my kind of crazy. Follow me, she muttered, leading me through the completely wrecked office floor, toward a heavy fire door that was so seamlessly hidden, practically blended right into the drywall. Step inside, and it's a tiny, tight 2-meter space encased in solid concrete. 0 windows, heavy-duty ventilation vents, waterproof industrial coating, and heavy sealant locking down every single edge. An absolute concrete bunker hidden deep inside. A mundane corporate office, masterfully engineered by the woman standing right next to me. I scanned the room and nodded. Oh yeah, this'll do just fine. But out there, cutting right through the distant chaos, I heard it. A deep, heavy, rhythmic thud. Boom, boom. And it's getting louder. That is definitely not thunder. It was the terrifying roar of billions of tons of ocean water, absolutely crushing the air as it surged straight for us. Lin Wei heard it too, her face instantly going pale, but she didn't lose her cool. Instead, she casually pushed up her glasses and muttered, in a deadpan voice, "We should probably close the door." Okay, I seriously like this girl already. Not bad, I said, scanning our cramped little concrete bunker. Lin Wei's lips twitched into the tiniest smirk, the look of a total pro getting the validation she deserved, even if the world was literally ending. Of course it's not bad, she replied, unable to hide a smug little flex. She probably didn't even realize she was bragging. Unless this entire skyscraper flat out collapses, this is officially the safest spot in all of Hongju. And then, while literally chewing on a dry-ass biscuit, she went full nerd and launched into an engineering lecture. She babbled on about the building's seismic safety ratings, its massive 32-meter foundation, anchored deep in solid bedrock, and the military-grade steel frame, designed to tank a simulated magnitude 9 earthquake, without taking a scratch. Oh, and I also designed Panther Manor, she added. My eyebrows shot up. Wait, the elite villa complex I just bought? The soil there was an absolute nightmare. Hillside, massive landslide risks. But the developer actually paid up for the good stuff. We used 32-meter piles and a full titanium alloy structural frame. I personally handled the land settlement checks last year. She suddenly cut herself off. She had finally noticed the way I was staring at her. No, not like that. More like I had just struck absolute gold in a pile of garbage. Because in a brutal apocalypse, what's the ultimate resource? Food? Overpowered weapons? Superpowers? Nope, it's people. Specifically, people who actually know how to build things. A genius architect who masterfully understands structural engineering, earthquake-proofing, waterproofing, and military-grade base fortifications. She's worth more than 100 elite soldiers. When it's time for me to build a fortress, this woman is going to be completely irreplaceable. Just then, she started violently choking on that dry biscuit, coughing up a storm. Her face turned bright red as her eyes watered. I casually pulled a fresh water bottle from my bag and tossed it to her. She slammed half of it down, gasped for air, wiped her mouth, and mumbled a quick thanks. So, I grabbed the bottle right back and took a swig myself. She completely froze, staring at the bottle, and then glaring right at me. Her mouth was hanging wide open, totally speechless. Yep, we just shared an indirect kiss. And her brain absolutely short-circuited trying to process it. Mind you, the literal apocalypse was happening outside. But inside this tiny, cramped room, we were sitting dead even across from each other, our knees basically touching, with only a faint, dim glow cutting through the vents. She started nervously fidgeting with her pens. Red, blue, and black, all still perfectly organized in her front pocket. Then she nervously toyed with a half-eaten pack of biscuits, trying her absolute best not to look at me, but failing miserably. Catching her red-handed, I smirked. "What are you looking at?" Her face instantly flushed tomato red as she stammered. "And nothing, just thinking about that crazy tsunami you mentioned." Right, totally. But I gotta admit, in that dim lighting, she was way cuter than I first gave her credit for. Not that loud, weaponized type of beauty like Ryan, but more like a subtle, classic painting, where you keep discovering gorgeous new details the longer you look. Brilliant, sharp eyes framed behind dusty glasses, and a face that just grew on you more and more. Suddenly, boom! The entire building violently lurched sideways. Lin Wei lost her footing completely and pitched straight forward. She let out a terrified scream, eyes clamped shut, hands clawing wildly at the air until she crashed right into me. Instinctively, my arms locked tightly around her waist, while she instantly clamped her arms right around my neck. And honestly, I don't even think she realized she was doing it, but her legs completely wrapped around my torso like a human backpack. Then an even louder crash echoed. This time, it sounded like an entire ocean slamming full force into solid concrete. The massive tower began to violently groan. A deep, agonizing screech, like the building itself was snapping in half. Torrential water battered the walls. The tsunami was officially here. Lin Wei buried her face deep into my chest, shaking like a leaf as she cried out, "Don't let go! Please, don't let me go!" Her voice was completely muffled against my shirt, breaking apart with sheer terror, and I didn't dare let go. Keeping one arm wrapped tightly around her, I braced my other hand against the wall, planting both of my feet firmly onto the floor. I held us steady with everything I had, even as the entire world outside tried to tear itself apart. All around us, the thick concrete walls continued to screech and buckle under the pressure. With every single wave, the impact felt like a literal titan slamming the building. The ocean was absolutely roaring somewhere below us, swallowing the lower floors one by one. But the walls stood their ground. Lin Wei's room actually held. Her design was freaking flawless. And honestly, trapped between the absolute terror and deafening noise, a wild thought crossed my mind. This insane woman literally built a high-tech bunker inside a basic office space, survived a massive earthquake using textbooks as literal body armor, and straight up pulled a box cutter on a random dude, twice her size, if she makes it out of tonight alive. And trust me, I'm going to personally make sure she does. She's officially joining my crew. The apocalypse needs brilliant architects. And honestly, I could really use the company. Then the tsunami hit like God himself was throwing haymakers. Boom! That's the first wave. The entire skyscraper violently shuddered. Massive cracks began tearing through the reinforced walls. Debris and dust rained down on us. Lin Wei was still clinging to me, like a terrified koala on a tree branch, her face buried deep into my chest, shaking uncontrollably, frantically whispering, "Don't let go. Please, just don't let go." And I definitely didn't. I locked one arm tightly around her waist, braced my other hand against the wall, and planted my feet firmly onto the floor. The entire building was literally screaming around us. Each crushing wave sounded like a whole mountain colliding with solid concrete. Yet her safe room held. Her master engineering held. And apparently my steady heartbeat held its ground too. Because somewhere between the brutal third and fourth impacts, Linwei actually passed out cold right on top of me, wrapped around my body like a human scarf. Think about it. This girl survived a cataclysmic earthquake, threatened my life with a tiny utility knife, casually gave a lecture on advanced structural integrity, while munching on dry biscuits, and then fell fast asleep in my arms in the middle of a literal tsunami, all because my pulse was apparently steady, enough to serve as her personal lullaby. Look, I'm not gonna act like I understand women at all, but you've gotta respect the absolute audacity. When morning finally came, well, not a real morning, just this ugly, ominous gray. It was a blood-red dawn that made the sky look severely bruised. Linwei slowly blinked awake, taking about 3 seconds to register that she was still completely coiled around me, like a literal octopus. Her arms were locked around my neck, her legs were tightly wrapped around my waist, and her face was buried in my chest. In a split second, her expression went from sleepy confusion to absolute, bright scarlet. Talk about a wake-up call. She immediately scrambled off me, backing straight into the wall, which was barely 2 feet away, considering this entire room was practically a closet. She frantically started smoothing down her lab coat, fixing her messy hair, and doing everything humanly possible to look like a functioning professional adult, one who definitely hadn't just been asleep, clinging onto a total stranger like a koala. Sleep well? I asked, completely casual. MMH. Honestly, that was the most pathetic squeak I've ever heard. I stood up, threw open the door, and we both walked over to the window. But the world outside, it was completely unrecognizable. Hangzhou had been transformed into a literal ocean of filthy, brown water. It stretched out all the way to the horizon. Abandoned cars, shattered furniture, signs, and actual bodies were just floating on the surface. Some of the corpses were already bloated and pale, while others were tangled in the wreckage at horrific, impossible angles. A collapsed skyscraper was still burning fiercely. In the distance, its thick black smoke bleeding into the crimson sky. The rain was hammering down so violently it felt like a solid curtain. The air was a heavy mix of salt, putrid rot, and burning chemicals, all blending into one stomach, turning cocktail, somewhere out there, far in the distance. Barely audible through the roaring storm, were the desperate screams of survivors still begging for help. Linwei just stood at the window, frozen solid. Just yesterday, she was an elite architect pulling an all-nighter, stressing out over some corporate deadline. Today, the entire city was submerged underwater. She looked down at the blueprints she'd been desperately clutching, stared at them for a long moment, and then ruthlessly kicked them across the floor. Deadlines are cancelled. The real apocalypse is officially here. I muttered. She snapped her gaze to me, and I could see the panic forming in her eyes before she even spoke. What do we do now? I immediately gave her a mission. Head downstairs and scavenge for supplies. Hit the convenience stores, cafeterias, break rooms, grab anything useful. I'm going to clear the upper floors. She hesitated, looking worried. You're not coming with me? We split up, we move faster. I told her before laying down the golden rules. If you see anyone, you run. Don't talk to them, don't try to help them, and absolutely do not trust them. In the apocalypse, people are way scarier than monsters. She nodded silently, turning to leave, but paused for a second. Thank you, she spat out, not even glancing back at the dry biscuit and water, before vanishing straight into the dark stairwell. I watched her leave, then dragged over a decent office chair, propped it up, and sank right in. Kicking my feet up on the desk, I checked my inventory. My personal pocket, dimension, literally held enough food to feed 100,000 people for 50 years. Not to mention millions of tons of fresh water, meds, generators, high-tech gear, and a massive ocean of frozen seafood. But I still sent her out there, not because I'm a monster, but because she needed a reality check. The apocalypse doesn't give a damn about your college degree. She had to get comfortable with the wreckage, the corpses, the constant danger, and the absolute worst of human nature. I couldn't play babysitter for her forever. Besides, I desperately needed a minute to myself. I spent 15 days straight on a frantic prep run.
Stealing spatial fruit, raiding secure vault.
Buying out every single restaurant in Hangzhou, building an armored war rig, securing a mountain fortress, and literally draining a lake. I hadn't slept a wink. But now that the initial tsunami had passed, and the rain was pouring down, I finally had a second to plot. My next target? That massive grain reserve. The national stockpile in Chaos Han. The very horde that built empires in my past life. This time it was going to be mine. Then there was that mysterious woman in the white crane. The one who literally froze time. Who the hell was she? What kind of power could suppress SSS rank? Spatial abilities? And then, of course, my old enemies. Ruyan, Lu Chong, and Lu Fei. There was no way they were dead yet. Unless that massive wave actually wiped them out. I was sitting there, mapping out my next moves, when suddenly, a deep, intense heat flared up in my bones. This wasn't normal. It was a volcanic burn erupting from deep within, like some ancient force was suddenly waking up inside my body. Then, a blinding spike of pain ripped through my skull, like a lightning strike. Something was happening to me, something massive, and the apocalypse had only just begun.